You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win!
Hosing! Score!
To Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Verhaeghe does it again! 52.1 seconds to go. Do you love it, Niagara?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our OHL Draft live stream right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of the great Niagara region locations. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you with coffees in hand. 9 o'clock this morning to continue on with Day 2 of the 2024 OHL Priority Selection Draft. Rounds 1 to 3 took place last night, and the IceDogs came away with 4 players there. And they'll add some more depth to their organization here with rounds 4 through 15 the rest of the way today. It's going to be interesting to see if they take some players that they expect to, maybe call up this year, like we saw with guys like Rafik Dianov and Kevin He or Eric He, or if maybe they take some flyers on some guys that they think that they might be able to recruit, maybe some guys that could have been top 3 round picks, but just take them and hope that you can kind of recruit them and get them here to the Niagara IceDogs in the Niagara region. We talked about Brady Wasslin last night being the first pick to the IceDogs at 4th overall. We also had some other players come to the organization. Maximus Crete, which from all intents and purposes was a very good pick there in the second round from the consensus from people who do the draft rankings and cover the league in that sense. So, Cam, what were your thoughts on night 1? And as we look ahead to day 2, we're going to have a lot of guests on, so it's going to be more laid back as far as what the coverage is going to look like today. People are going to be coming in and out, and players are going to be coming into the draft room, meeting everybody, and just an exciting weekend for the Niagara IceDogs here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that something that definitely the perception around not just the arena and the team officials, but online saw some things about the IceDogs doing very well yesterday, and really excited to see how today plays out. But yeah, more than likely, we're looking at potential call-ups and more organizational depth, and we saw that being extremely necessary as the season went along last year. Had to use an undermanned lineup for a couple weeks there in the middle, so getting some potential reinforcements today. They also have many later round picks as well, so we'll see how those all shake out.
What were your thoughts on day 1 and obviously getting Brady Wasslin at 4? It was almost, you never want to lose the lottery, but it almost felt like the IceDogs lost the lottery but still got the player that they wanted. Even if they were to fall to 2nd or 3rd, I think Brady Wasslin would have most likely been the guy with looking at the 2 players that were taken ahead of him after Ethan Belchez. So I think if you're the IceDogs, you have to be ecstatic with a goal scorer like Brady Wasslin. And you watched his post-draft interview where he talked about the cheeseburger chan and wanting to come to the Meridian Centre. And you can already tell that he's already trying to engrave himself in the Niagara community and wanting to play here at the Meridian Centre. And that's obviously very big for the recruitment side of things.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that it's always been kind of an issue over the last few years in terms of just the desire to come here. But it's starting to change quite a bit, especially with some of the players that we've got in the upcoming NHL draft. But no, I think that yesterday getting Brady Wasslin was huge. I DM'd with a few people that are in the industry. Talking about that, and it was met with like, holy smokes, like, wow, like, I'm stunned. It was some kind of stunning to see him fall to 4th overall, much like last year. I think we did not win 1st overall, didn't get Schaefer, and ended up with Ryan Rubrick, who broke every franchise record as a 16-year-old. So obviously big shoes to fill. Wasslin, the expectation won't be that he comes in and now breaks Ryan Rubrick's scoring records. But if he can just provide some assistance offensively, that would be huge, I think.
So we're in round 4 here. It's already begun here. Flint, London, and Oshawa have all picked. Barry's going to be up for 2, and then the IceDogs are going to be on the clock here, and it's actually going pretty quick. Flying by today. So I might as well put the on the clock graphic on the board here because the IceDogs are going to be on the board whenever Barrie makes their second pick. This is the second time Barrie's picked back-to-back in this draft, so I don't know how Marty Williamson swung that, but.
All right. Now, I'm wondering if there's any honorable mentions from our mock draft that we saw that are still available. Take a look.
I think a lot of them went in that third round yesterday.
Yeah, that's what it did seem.
So, guys, bear with us. If you were with us last night, once we get around to Niagara's pick, we'll kind of go a little bit silent as we're trying to listen in to the official announcement in the room next to us here. So,
Let's see.
Barrie is up, and then Niagara is on the clock.
Did Sam Wattier go from Eastern Ontario Wild? I didn't recognize his name. Sam Wathier. He's a defenseman. Don't believe he went. So that's another honorable mention that was kind of shouted out. And Ryder Cali as well. So there's some players that were kind of honorable mentions after the first round. Still available. We'll see how it shakes out. But IceDogs up shortly. And we've got our first pick.
Jacob McMahon from the Peterborough Petes U16. Left defenseman, 186 pounds,
6'2". So something that was definitely necessary on our back end. Especially with Bronson Ride being traded out last year. No more Federico. Definitely needs some size. Not that Federico was a giant by any means, but he played like it. So good to see at least get a bigger defenseman that can go back there with Chanowski. Because, I think that was kind of an issue on the back end. I think we have some good, decent puck movers and skaters, but not really a lot of bigger guys back there. So we get a good one in Jacob McMahon. Again, 6'2", left-handed defenseman. It looks like. All right, as we fly through here.
It's crazy how quicker.
Yeah,
these
compared to prior, and we even heard. I mean, kind of behind the scenes, we heard some. On Niagara's third pick, second pick.
Some deliberation.
There was some debating back and forth as to who to take there, and we ended up with Maximus Crete, which is pretty huge.
But I mean, that happens in every draft.
Oh no, that's not singling out. I'm just saying it was interesting to hear it. Though.
Oh yeah, it's once you go through this process, it's cool to see how the whole dynamic of the draft really does work. Nolan Battler, another nice name. Guelph Griffins.
We're up at 56th as well. Or sorry, my apologies. We don't have our next pick isn't until 113, so quite a ways now.
Quite a ways until the 6th round. Niagara will pick.
We've got 6 selections in round 12 for 14.
Again, that is just organizational depth and whether the IceDogs try to take a guy that this is where you start to see guys that are committed to other leagues. And whether they get taken or not, you never know. You never know if you might be able to get a guy down here.
Talk to maybe the people that don't know, but when you get drafted, obviously you have the rights to that player and whatnot. But a lot of these guys will just go back to a different league, correct? They'll just go to the various other leagues below the OHL.
Yep.
Correct. So they continue playing their hockey career, but they just have the rights essentially.
Yep.
How it plays out. Okay.
And I mean, we saw with the call-ups this year, a lot of those guys were property of the IceDogs that were draft picks and or guys that are part of the organization, even though they're not full-time players. They'll go down and play for their various leagues that they do play for there, and then Junior B, Junior A, and then obviously getting to the Ontario Hockey League. But flying through here with round 4 of the OHL draft again today. We're going to have a lot of guests on today to kind of get us through this day as it's a little bit more laid back, and it's a cool day because you start to see some of the players come in. I'm sure Brady Wasson will be here today, and we'll get him on the show, even though I already talked to him on my OHL Combine show. So for those wondering, two of the 5 players I spoke with at the OHL Combine, I were selected by the Niagara IceDogs yesterday. So that episode is live on the channel right now if you want to go and watch that. For Brady Wasson and Nicholas Frasca, spoke to both of them at the OHL Combine for our OHL Overtime episode. So you'll already get to see or hear thoughts from them. And Brady Wasson, really cool story. If you guys didn't catch it last night, and thank you to those today watching us so far for day 2. he skated with Patrick Kane, and I can't wait to ask him about that when he does arrive. When Patrick Kane was recovering from his off-season surgery, Brady Watson actually had the opportunity to skate with him, and he was in awe of it because Brady Watson looked up to Patrick Kane. So the fact that he got to skate with him before he even got to the Ontario Hockey League, that must be a pretty cool moment for that young man.
No, absolutely. I think that, obviously anytime you get to play with a first ballot Hall of Famer, potentially the best American-born player, offensive player in the NHL history. Obviously, that's pretty massive on when he was working his way back from injury before he signed with Detroit. Definitely an interesting story there. Just kind of going through the history of the Ice Dogs and taking a look at players that not only played for the Ice Dogs but were drafted. Phil Giuseppe, I completely forgot was a Niagara Ice Dog back in 2009. He was drafted, played 280 games in the NHL. He was a 6th-round pick. Just trying to see what our, again, because it doesn't necessarily mean that these players are all going to make the team and become something, but it just kind of goes to show that it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't. Bo Nieves. I forgot he was an Ice Dog too. He was a 10th-round pick. My guy Mason Howard was a 10th-round pick as well. The guy got me into being an Ice Dogs fan. One of the best players to watch in terms of physicality.
Just 8 pucks for breakfast, Mason Howard.
I was talking to him a couple weeks ago as well, actually. He was a 10th-round pick, so he was an impact player for the Ice Dogs. Couldn't skate, but, I think he'd be the first to tell you that.
And, I mean, we're looking at the 4th round right now. This is where Ivan Galyanov went for the Ice Dogs, and look at how that turned out.
No, exactly.
Andrew Vermeulen was a 4th-rounder in 2022.
Jake Uberti, who has had a great couple seasons with Oshawa.
No, he wouldn't play for the Mississauga Steelheads.
Steelheads. I always
He hasn't played in the league for a year.
No, prior year.
Yep. Ryan Struthers was a 5th-round pick to the Ice Dogs. He's still playing in the league.
Cameron Snow was an everyday OHLer in the 7th round.
Ethan Sims. That draft had some players in it. Crazy going back and looking at some of these drafts back in the day to see how Oliver Castleman, 4th-round pick. Oliver Castleman was
great.
He was a steady as you come, great OHL player.
He was a fantastic second liner behind Akil and Phil.
He was fantastic.
That team was really, it wouldn't have mattered anyways because the Ice Dogs actually made it like bandits because when they sold everyone, the COVID stoppage happened right afterwards. So imagine not getting any of those picks because the haul they got for Tomasino was crazy.
Massive.
When he went to Oshawa. It was Oshawa, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I always get when thinking about teams, I always for whatever reason the jerseys that pop in my mind, Oshawas and Barries. I don't know why I don't know why they're aways or their homes. I don't know why they always
That's odd.
I know.
I figured it'd be Oshawa and Ottawa, but
Ottawa's them too. It's just I don't know why for whatever reason those jerseys mix me up. Which is so weird because Barrie has a very unique yellow is very unique.
And we were looking at the lineup yesterday as far as the projected lineup for the Ice Dogs and how it's going to go. You obviously would assume that Brady Watson's going to be slotted into a middle 6 role. Obviously, he's going to have to earn a spot. Ben Bruder is going to make him earn his opportunities here. But with his skill set, you'd say that he's probably able to start in a middle 6 role already for the Niagara Ice Dogs on the wing. And that's exciting because then you look at the possibilities of really getting that depth scoring that they lacked last year. They got the production from their top-end guys, but then when you got to the middle 6, and that's where you look at some of these top playoff teams that are still in it right now, they're getting contributions. They're not just one-line teams. They've got some firepower up and down their lineup and can be scoring threats at all times. So I think that's just going to be overall better for the Ice Dogs as they move forward. And the other good thing is they aren't really losing anybody. They're just losing Connor Federico on the back end. Again, we're not sure about the decisions.
Is a loose term there, but no, yeah, I agree.
And Mike Potelou still jury's out on if he's going to be back for his OA year, but adding a guy like Brady Watson to that group, I think it's going to be exciting for the rest of those guys.
Absolutely, and again, this is all going to shake out. Hopefully, we get to talk to Ben. He's always so candid, and I feel like he will always give his an honest answer. So I'm so curious to see if the plan is to try Rubric at center more full time, just given his size. But he was so effective on the wing. and he was deceptive when it came to his forecheck and ability to get the puck back. I think that's something that I would like to see in his next year. Maybe a little more urgency without the puck, but when he knows that he has a play on it, or even, I mean, the amount of times where it was just a one-man forecheck on a breakout that he would somehow get his stick on it, like that's just players that have incredible hand-eye. It was absolutely nuts to me, but he definitely, there's some work there in terms of just urgency without the puck. And maybe that comes with a move to center because you have to be a lot more defensive-minded than being on the wing. But we'll see. Man, he's got just an electric shot, and he scored, I'd say, like 80% of his goals off the rush, though.
Robrick?
Yeah. Like, I feel like Kevin, too. Kevin was very much like that, too. I feel like we need some offense generated from the cycle or power play, like that isn't them. Like
Gavin Bryant scored a lot of his goals.
He is the one, and it's funny because he had such a good offensive season that there wasn't more of it. Like his points didn't come from that. Like he just, there are a couple of fantastic setups to Robrick and Kevin to end the year. So we'll see, but. No, I think that a big jump from. I think honestly the X factor of this entire team in terms of up front is Zada, because you can see, I mean, when you have someone who's got such a high draft pedigree, 5th overall, obviously the pressure to fulfill on that is huge, especially as a 16-year-old. And not many 16-year-olds in the league get thrust into the position that he was, but it was more out of necessity, just like Robrick and Galyanov and Frolov. But I think that now he's got a full season under his belt, and he wants to be more aggressive. And we saw that earlier. We talked about it yesterday, that he is the fight that he had against Haltonen in the second game ever in his career. So we'll see how that shakes out. But if he can make a huge jump, then that's such a massive bonus to Brady Wasson, both of them, because then you've got an actual second line that can create some offensive capabilities here.
Looking at the IceDogs 4th-round selection, Jacob McMahon, he had 3 points in the 6 games in the OHL Cup, so obviously the big end-of-year tournament for the AAA teams to kind of showcase themselves. The Oakville Rangers won that championship. Obviously, Ethan Belchez going 1st overall, and we saw the kind of bump that helped with that Oakville Rangers team. I think they had 4 or 5 players taken in the first 2 rounds.
If memory serves, their entire top line was selected in the 1st round. I'll verify that, but just pretty crazy when you think about it. Yeah, so Belchez went 1st overall. Then his teammate next was Evan Hedrick, went 15th to Kitchener.
Okay.
And then right after that was Carey Ryder. Ryder Carey. I don't know why I always want to say Carey Ryder. Ryder Carey to North Bay. So right back to back was that both from that Oakville Ranger U16 team. So yeah, we'll see. I believe the first defenseman was taken from there as well. If memory serves. Yesterday was a lot because you don't just get the first round like you do in the NHL. It's the first 3, which is obviously a lot of players taken. So the Ottawa the Ottawa team was well represented in the second and third.
Oh,
round.
the Ottawa Valley,
Yeah.
or was it the other?
The Ottawa
Myers
Automotive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a ton of players taken in the second and third rounds.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see the
Callum
dynamic with the
Croskery,
teams.
that was the defenseman.
Okay.
He was taken in the 2nd round. He went to Sioux, 40th overall.
The other interesting thing we saw yesterday was that we only had 2 defensemen taken in the 1st round. 19 forwards taken, no goaltenders until the 2nd round. But yeah, of the first 11 players were forwards. Then we finally got a defenseman at 12, and then another one later in the 1st round. But 19 of the first 21.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking to Rod. He was in here, kind of just when we were covering the draft, and he was like, "That's got to be a record." I'd love to go back and take a look, just in terms of last few drafts. I mean, you had a defenseman go 1st overall last year, so kind of a stark change. But then you saw in the 2nd round, in terms of draft picks, count for me. Just count for me real quick. How many defensemen went in the 2nd round yesterday?
In round 2?
Yeah, because it looks like it was kind of a course correction. Maybe. I mean, almost half of me. Close. There's a lot.
Looks like 10 or 11 from my quick count there.
Yeah. So, you saw it, but the 1st round, 18 forwards. So, teams looking for some offense, obviously, in the league. There's also a lot of offense leaving when you think about it, in terms of the players that are aging out, not just for like the IceDogs, but I mean like in general. And then you've got to see what happens with players like Quint Musty, and players. David Goyette has one more year, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah. That Sudbury team, if they can get everyone to come back, is going to be a problem.
It's going to be a problem in the Central Division,
Yeah.
too, for the IceDogs. But
Yeah.
Gavin Betts was the first goaltender taken for Kingston, and that's pretty par for the course. Their general manager, Corey Cooper, is a big goaltender, so he loves his goalies, and he was at the Combine looking at those guys. So they get their goalie, Gavin Betts, from the Mississauga Rebels, in the second round was the first goaltender taken. But then Niagara took the second goaltender off
Has
the
there been
board.
one taken today?
I haven't looked yet today.
Matthew
Yes.
Humphrey. There was?
Yep. William Campataro to the
Okay.
Sioux Greyhounds.
6'4".
And another one just went to Brantford.
There we go. Little goalie
Maxim Korovic. And Brantford took a goalie yesterday as well. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, they took another Niagara
Yeah.
native. So they've taken a goalie from Niagara Falls and a goalie from St. Catharines.
I mean, they've been down here enough.
Yeah, so Brantford takes two goaltenders already from the Niagara region. But with the IceDogs, they got their goaltending prospect, and I talked about that last night, that they're really going to have to start to restock that goaltender cupboard because you don't know what's going to happen with Owen Flores. You assume Charlie Robertson would be able to step in that role. But then you really need to start developing a good young goalie, and they take Matthew Humphreys, who was actually Brady Waslin's teammate with the Markham Majors. So
There's some familiarity. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, coming into your first training camp, maybe a little nerves, but having someone there that you've been playing for so long, like that's obviously.
Sorry, that the player they took yesterday was not a goalie; it was a defenseman
That was
from Niagara Falls. So they took that player from Niagara Falls. He was a defenseman.
Yes, yeah, they
Not
took
a goalie. They took a goalie just now.
in the fourth round. Their
Yep.
fourth round pick.
Yeah. So they've taken a Niagara Falls and St. Catharines native already
go.
for the Brantford Bulldogs. So we'll talk to Colin Ward about that when he comes on around 11 o'clock today, about the Brantford Bulldogs a little bit. But going back to the goaltending discussion there for the IceDogs, I just like that they went and got a younger goaltender early on in the draft that they can develop and really get him marinated and ready to go. I like the fact that he was familiar because you would assume that they went and scouted Brady Waslin, and in turn, they got a good look at Matthew Humphreys as well. And that just happens when you're going to scout a team. You're looking at one player, and then maybe another player kind of sticks out to you. And maybe that was a little bit of a bump thanks to Brady Waslin with the fact that they were already kind of looking at him, and then they got to look at the goaltender too, and they selected both of them at the end of the day.
No, absolutely, and I think that kind of goes into what we were talking about yesterday in terms of just the hype around the franchise as we get some players put into the show or drafted into the NHL, and Kevin Hean, and obviously Ryan Robrick upcoming. It is the more that you've got players like that, the more that scouts and pro scouts will be in the building. And I think that kind of just coincides. Sometimes they might not be there for you, but you put on a show every night, then eventually someone's going to see and recognize that you've got some talent. Also, some just historically, IceDogs goaltenders taken in the third round. We talked about that yesterday. But Byzantine went in the third round back in 2008.
Not bad.
And as well as Stephen Dillon.
Yeah,
well.
2 starters for the Niagara IceDogs, two guys that are 2 of the better goaltenders in the franchise's history.
Exactly, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
So, a lot to live up to for Matthew Humphreys. We're not going to put those expectations on him, but it's a good start to know that the IceDogs, they went and addressed every position, which is nice. They addressed all the needs because we know this team is in need of just taking the best player available at whatever position that is. But the fact that they were able to get 2 forwards, a defenseman, and a goaltender in day one, I think that's big because those are the types of guys that you would assume would become impact players maybe before day 2.
Absolutely. I'd love to pull up last year's draft real quick just to see how that shook out. Like just in terms of comparisons. So you had Schaefer, Robrick, Brady Martin, as well as Tyler Hopkins, Zada. So I mean,
Jack Ivankovic went 7th overall as a goalie.
And in retrospect, that's and Jake O'Brien to Brantford was probably the next. He had a fantastic season in Brantford. A lot of assists though. I believe. I
Yep.
don't think he put the puck in a ton, but a lot of assists. Anyone in the second round that stands out? I mean, Hunter Brestevich. Was that the first pick of the second round?
Yeah, but he didn't report to Ottawa.
True, he did not.
Traded to the London Knights. Artem Frolov with the IceDogs.
He might be the. Just
Dylan
going off-
Tashurna ended up being an impact player for Brantford in the bottom six last year. He was one of those pesky players.
Yep.
So he's going to continue to develop for Brantford there. Will McFadden, he was the combine guru that I saw last year. He went to Guelph in the second round. Tanner Lamb for the Kitchener Rangers.
That was a big one. So I mean, just kind of pointing out that in the second and later rounds, it's not just the first rounds where you see impact OHLers. Like Tanner Lamb had a monster season. I'm just trying to see some maybe not so offensive ones that just I recognize from watching them play against the IceDogs. Wouldn't that jump out in terms of?
It's hard for a lot of these guys to make an impact right away. That's why what the IceDogs were able to do with their young players was so impressive.
It is pretty crazy when you think about it.
Yeah. From looking at it right now, there wasn't anybody else that's made a complete impact yet in their first year.
This is where the second round is where you see like a massive jump usually.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys taken today we might not see in the first year, but maybe as they continue to develop, we might see them down the road in the second or third years.
For sure. I mean, everyone will get a shot in camp, right? I mean, Frolov had Gallianov started on the bench, right? But he did make the team out of camp.
Yeah, just longer development process with them. I'd love to know the probability as you go through the rounds of guys.
That's what I'm saying. Like if they play even 50 games in the OHL, I'd love to know that number, like where the drop off is. I believe in the NHL, it's a pretty hard one after the first round to make the NHL.
Going over some more historical stuff here as we wait for our guests to come in again. Thank you to those waiting along. We're going to go as long as we can here. I assume that once we get to the 10, 11 o'clock hour, that's when things are really going to start to pick up here with our guests, and we're going to continue to react to Niagara's picks, but they don't pick again until 113th, and we're currently on 91. So far they've taken one player there in the fourth round, defenseman McMahon. Forget his first name, Jacob McMahon from the Peterborough Junior Petes. Left defenseman has been taken so far in day two for the Niagara IceDogs. I'm looking at most games played. Andrew Agazzino, 318 for the Niagara IceDogs. Alex Friesen, 292.
318.
Yep. So
in 68 games, like that's well over 4 seasons.
Johnny Corneal, Aaron Hayden, and Anthony DeFruscia round out the top 5 for most games played as Niagara IceDogs. But Andrew Agazzino still playing in the American Hockey League, and
he was drafted, I believe, in the 4th round. If memory serves, of the OHL draft. I'll go back and take a look, but I was just looking at that.
None of those guys in the top 5 as far as most games played for the IceDogs were top-end picks.
Anthony DeFruscia was a second-round pick. He's 40th overall, so we're at the back end of the second round.
But he was the highest. The rest of those guys are, that's what happens when...
It's crazy now looking at this. In 2012, the 6th-round pick for the IceDogs was Vince Dunn.
Incredible.
So that puts things into perspective for today. That it doesn't mean that it's over. Trent Frederick too. I completely forgot that Trent Frederick wasn't because when they get by the end of their career, right? By the end of their career, they could be traded. Whether it's the cycle, like that team's cycle, right? Like Robertson is an IceDog. Like he's more than likely remembered. Well, he was drafted as an IceDog technically.
But a lot of those players
they remember
sometimes
themselves
didn't
as
even
Kingston.
play.
Yeah, exactly.
But like Trent Frederick never played for the IceDogs, so it's one of those things where those guys get taken and they end up going to have pro careers. They go the NCAA route or go different routes, but those guys end up becoming NHL players. But they're drafted by OHL teams and they just never end up being able to recruit them.
Talked about that yesterday. Josh Norris. I was stunned to see that his rights were he played. I believe he went the college route.
Yep.
Josh Norris was turned into a heck of a player in 2015.
Vince Dunn, quickly on him, when I talked to Marty Williamson when I did that alumni piece, when I spoke to him in Buffalo, Marty Williamson said that he almost changed Vince Dunn to a forward. They really almost did.
I feel like a lot of, because I remember Ryan Merkley, that was like a thing that was talked about in his careers. He had such a good junior career. That was like a thing. I feel like a lot of like the really offensive, not necessarily big players, they always have that conversation. But
Yeah, and I mean,
it's surprising because that would have been
because he was really gifted offensively and really had to learn that defensive game. And now you look at him in the NHL, he's a very solid two-way defenseman. But that wasn't always the case, and that's why you see these guys when they get drafted to the OHL. The coaching that they do get at this level is so impactful for the rest of their career if they are able to go on to a pro career in the National Hockey League or the American Hockey League or overseas, a collegiate career. The coaching they get here at this level can catapult them to whatever level of hockey that they believe they can get to.
no, absolutely, 100%. Like you're entering into the biggest feeder league into the NHL in terms of just alumni, like drafted players. So. No doubt. Like the demand is far harder. We talked to Gavin Bryant yesterday that like the speed of the game. When you think about it, when you're, playing AAA and whatnot, and the fact that it's that much faster. Because again, you're very young, right? So it's not like you're going from amateur to pro. You're going to major junior, and it's still like that. The speed of this game is far higher once you get that big jump. I was looking at 2017 draft. Just talking about goaltenders real quick. Like the 6th round, they got Spralia, for a while was our starter. So, yeah, Tomasino and Mason both got drafted in the same year. That's funny. That was a half-decent draft for the IceDogs. They got Mason at 10. It's probably so they're starting goaltender at 6, and then obviously Phil had a phenomenal year. Or career, sorry. It's tough. The hard part is having years where you don't really get not necessarily any impact players, but you don't get any roster players. And obviously when you have a couple of those seasons, those are the ones that tend to keep teams in ruts that are no longer 3-year cycles and, kind of what we're going through a little bit. And there's the prior regime, we've got a
big one here.
Okay. Oh, Mississauga selects Zach Nyman. So obviously he committed to playing in
the BCHL. So they took Valentini and Zach Nyman.
I wonder if they're going to convince. Again, I brought this up before, and I don't know if it. I mean, obviously Leenders is going to be a goaltender for barring any injury or anything like that, or maybe a crazy performance. He's going to get a look for Team Canada's World Junior team. And I made a joke that this might be the first time a CHL franchise is going to send the starter and back up the Team Canada in terms of the goaltending tandem. But when you consider that, like they really lacked offensive firepower and those dynamic like playmakers, because their defense and goaltending was just so strong that maybe they can convince them to come. I mean they took Valentini what number?
Mid-first.
Like that's
but they could obviously
trade. Yeah.
No, they could get the compensatory
pick. Yeah.
Next year.
What would be the compensatory pick? Is it all based on the...
No, it's one pick lower than where you picked the player. So
getting a second, that's the only way to get another first-round pick if there wasn't someone in that range that they liked.
That's what the IceDogs were able to do with Zada over the Dickinson situation. They were able to get the 5th overall pick. Dickinson was 4th the year prior. So wherever Mississauga took Valentini, and we might as well look at it right now, it was 13th overall, so that means if he doesn't report, they'll get the 14th overall pick next year.
Okay, and that's the only other way to acquire for another first-round pick is you can't make first-round pick trades in the OHL. So
yeah, you have a 1-week window to be able to trade your first-round pick, but it's tough. So
when is that? What is the date of that?
Couldn't tell you.
In the off-season? Before the season starts, correct?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I don't want to make an inaccurate statement.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but, I mean, when you look at if they're able to somehow...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, because they're not going to... They are in their cycle.
Yeah.
Like in their window.
But that's got to be a stretch, though. I mean, that he would have been a top 2-3 pick if he would have been committing. So for Mississauga to take him, they're going to say, okay, we're going to take him with a 13th pick, and if he doesn't report, we'll get 14th next year on top of whatever first they're going to have next year.
I mean, Leenders has got to be moved.
You would think that they would have to move one goaltender.
And you'd think just because they have more control over, like Leenders is going to go, he's going to be probably the first goaltender drafted this year.
A lot of buzz.
And the only one that has a potential shot at the first round, even though that might be a stretch. It just doesn't really happen very often now in the NHL. But they've got Ivan Kovic, who's got an extra year. He's a year young. He was drafted last year, 7th overall, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But If Flores doesn't, you know what I mean? We did this with Ty Nelson last night. Can you imagine? But I think it's still too early to make, because those kinds of trades can essentially remove you from the draft the following year, right? Like those are the trades that really that's what happens, right? Because that means you have to hit on all of your other ones. But to land someone like, like Ty Nelson, for example, because if he comes back in his overage year, you're gonna have to send just a ton. I want to see what the Shane side note. I want to see what the Shane Wright deal was in total.
So we're currently sitting at pick number 97. Just went to Kitchener. Niagara will be up again at 113. For those wondering, we will react to that. We're going to get our guests in here as they kind of file in the next couple of hours.
Oh, wow. Okay, so just going back, because Shane Wright's kind of the biggest name, like the last big one. He was sent to Windsor for 7 draft picks. So a 2023 second, a third in 23, a fourth round picks in 24-25, a conditional 6th round pick in 24, and 2 conditionals of 5th in 24 and 26. So you're talking about that's over half of your draft the next 2 years in the top 5 rounds, which is what we talked about. Those are really the players that have a shot at making them, at least in the first season or second season.
Bill Bowler made that move, and they didn't give up their first, so they were able to take, I believe it was Jack Nesbitt that they took with their first-round pick last year, but they didn't really have anything else in their draft cover last season.
That's it, yeah, and they also had to move Medema.
Yeah, Ethan Medema, who's now a Buffalo Sabres prospect to Kingston,
and Gavin McCarthy as well. So just a mad those. So again, we're still in the stages of the IceDogs, getting competitive again, and I think that doing it too early, you know what I mean?
We saw 2 years ago with all the trades that were made, and again, I think they learned a lot from that experience that season.
Last year it definitely seemed that all of the trades had
purpose.
Purpose. Yeah, purpose.
And again, like we talked about some of those players, it felt like 4 years ago that Pasquale Zito and some of these other players were here.
Nolan Dan.
Yeah, and he ended up having a solid overage season with the Flint Firebirds. But with the moves that the IceDogs did make at the trade deadline, they traded Daniil Sobolev and Zach Lavoie to the Brantford Bulldogs. Were able to get some picks and some younger impact players like Mason Ray and Callum Chanowski. And the Bronson Ride trade, to me, was the best move so far of this organization.
That was actually, widely considered. Obviously, over the past few years, off-ice things, IceDogs have been heavily criticized. But that trade in just the circle of coverage outside of the Niagara IceDogs that cover the OHL was viewed as a pretty good haul. For
I would say the Gavin Bryant trade and the Bronson Ride trade for the draft picks and Charlie Robertson were probably the 2 best moves that the organization has made. Oh.
There he is.
Okay, so you want to join us now?
You want me to?
It's whenever
Absolutely.
you want. Whatever you want.
Let's talk. I got a lineup question. I'm gonna put you on the spot early. That's one we're gonna start with.
Don't worry, we're not gonna ask you anything hard hitting. Well,
no.
We got the chair over there for you if you need.
Here, you can chill here if you want. There we go.
We're gonna get the IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on the PHBA hotline here in person. So we're joined now by the head coach of the Niagara IceDogs. Ben, thanks a lot for joining us. Your first, I guess, draft room experience being here in Niagara. I'm sure you've gone through this as a general manager and director of hockey ops yourself. How cool has this process kind of been? And obviously yesterday must have been exciting because you're getting to add some new tools to your toolbox, and your lineup card's going to look a little bit better, obviously, already going forward. So how pleased are you with day 1 so far?
Well, I think this is actually my first experience. I've never gone through this. And, one of the big difference between pro hockey and junior hockey is you try to win every single year in pro hockey. You're always going for it. July 1st is free agents. And, from there you put your GM hat on and, you try to sign new players over the next 3 to 4 month period. And, you want to build a team that can win it all, with 1-year deals. So then you're coming here and you're looking at, a board of 15-year-olds and you're trying to project what are they going to be like in 3-4 years from now? Are they going to help your team, fill spots in order to compete, for a championship down the road here? And, you get to bring these kids in, invest into them for the future. I mean, they're here for 3, 4, 5 years, some of these guys. And so, this day is a big day, not only to the organization, but to the kids themselves as they try to map out their future. So it's great being able to see all the people that are involved, and, it's a great experience.
What was the thing that stood out for Brady Wasslin for you that you think will have the biggest impact on the team next year?
His character, watching the interview with him on TV after, and he mentioned free cheeseburgers in a game that I'm pretty sure he came to where we lost 8-1, and we're down 2-0 in the first 2 minutes of the game against Kingston, I'm pretty sure.
You remember that one?
When he mentions that and the experience and thinks the owners personally, you can just tell he's raised right. He's a man of faith, and just a great kid with an infectious smile, and it's the first thing that you notice, and that's part of the team culture that you want here is great kids all pulling on the rope in the same direction.
You talked about the limping to the finish line at the end of this year, and you obviously don't want to go through that again next year. What do you think that you hope that from top to bottom your organization learned about what this season was, and as the players come back and as you continue to round out the organizational depth of this lineup as the head coach and wanting to instill that culture you talked about, what are some of the biggest things you're going to expect Ice Dog fans to get excited for next season as far as the compete and just the overall dynamic of what the team's going to look like going into your first training camp as the head coach?
Well, I think the culture, has been set when you have, good captaincy group. Gavin Bryant, who's been here throughout the draft, is exactly that, what you want, is just a great captain, great leader. He's going to make sure the message resonates throughout those 4 or 5 weeks of training camp when you come back. But, those were the things that we wanted to make sure that we put in place were expectations of how you play, how to prepare, and what to do during the day here. And, the fact that we're coming back with some consistency, starting the training camp with the coach and the captains, and, an idea of who you drafted that's going to take another step. And, you've already got a culture building group in there, and it's more or less just kind of, keep going, but surround them with some new faces, maybe a few free agents, a couple imports, and, go to compete with a healthy lineup that's mentally and physically refreshed by the fall. So I think we're really looking forward to that, is just implementing a full lineup of healthy, active players, but the culture has been set, and our leadership is going to be expected to carry that on.
Ice Dogs head coach Ben Boudreau is with us.
I have a way too early roster question for you. I mentioned this, brought this up yesterday. Obviously, Ryan Robrick broke every rookie record for the Ice Dogs, and just insanely gifted offensively. Will there be I don't want to say focus, but an attempt through training camp and whatnot to have him move to center, just based on his size, or do you think that the plan early on, at least now, obviously things can change, would be to leave him at wing?
Well, I mean, when you look at left shot centerman for our team right now, just as far as assets and who we have, you've got Gavin Bryant and Asadorian and Podolou and Zada and Galyanov and Ray and Vermeulen and Rubrick and that's and now Crate and Wasslin. I mean, that's you want to talk about left shot centers.
Yes,
we got a plethora, and so you can only have 4 of them in the lineup, so you're going to need to take one of those left shot centers and turn him into a winger. Ryan Rubrick, breaking all the records, did so at the wing, and he found chemistry with Gavin Bryan and Kevin He are going to be our 2 offensive leader powerhouses, and I think it's a lot to ask Ryan, no matter how good of a year he is, to come in and kind of lead by example, where I thought those other guys really shined off of him. But there's going to be no shortage of offensive options when we get up to the training camp table, and usually that's when things play themselves out. If Ryan's had a great year of training in the off season, and you can see that physical development in his body where he can play those minutes, in both ends of the ice. Of course you want Ryan that's 6 foot, 2 power forward, winning faceoffs. It's something that we struggled at last year, and I thought our offensive stats really took a hit because we didn't start with the puck. I think it was our power play stats were less than 20% as far as offensive power play faceoffs went. So,
Wow.
Right now it's all about figuring out who's the best at playing that position, and there's nothing is going to be given, everything is going to be earned. So it's wait to see what we got in training camp right here.
When you talk about setting the standard, and obviously you're not going to always have 4 16-year-olds in the lineup, but with the ones that did make an impact last year, the Frolovs, the Gallianovs, and the second, fourth round, not just the top-end guys like Rubrick and Zada, that's a lot of pressure for the next draft class to come in, but when you set the standard and make sure that they know what it's going to take to make this club, spots aren't just going to be given to guys, and they're going to have to earn that playing time on your roster. When those young guys come in and they see that 4 16-year-olds made the lineup, you have to make sure you let them know, like, hey, these spots are going to have to be earned, and make sure that right from day one that they know that it's going to be a competitive roster to make, and not necessarily like we saw at the end of last year where the Ice Dogs weren't able to field a full lineup and we're having some call-up players throughout the end of the season.
Well, I mean, yeah, 100%. You look at the way it started. I mean, Rubes didn't really move outside of the top 6 all year, but Zada started on the 4th line. Gallianov was out of the lineup. Frolov played limited minutes, and by the end of the year, those were some of our most dependent guys. Even, one of the last overtime win against Peterborough, our whole second line was Gallianov, Rubrick, and Zada, and they scored 2 goals in the first period, and Kevin ended it. And you're looking at these, guys saying this is the future of the franchise, these 16, 17-year-olds. So if I'm Brady Wasslin, if I'm Maximus Crate, I don't care who you are, even Humphreys as a goalie. I mean, Frasca with his lineage and bloodlines. I mean, they're coming in here expecting the team. That's what I would hope from the most of them. But at the same time, too, you know that it's not just handed to them; it's got to be earned. And the 4 16-year-olds that were here with us last year, I think, went about it and did it the right way. They've all got great attitudes, great character references. Those are all guys that you hope the next crop and wave of talent can come back and resemble. And so far, just the conversations that you have with these guys, it gives you a lot of hope, and just looking forward to the future as far as the characters and the group and the culture that you've established, because it's easy to be negative. It's easy to focus on the things this team hasn't accomplished over the last few years. But I think the mindset going forward is we're doing things right. We're taking our time. We're being patient. And what we really hope to see is some of the fruits of the labor start to pay off this year.
How big in the room is it, or just as an organization, to get an NHL drafted player back in the team? It's been quite a while. I believe Phil Tomasino was the last NHL drafted prospect that was homegrown by the Ice Dogs, and obviously Kevin invited the NHL Combine, and from all intents and purposes, it should get drafted this summer. How big is that for an organization to have someone that scouts are going to be watching, or at least of the franchise that takes him? Does it impact the room at all, or do you see that, or is it just more on the management side of things?
Yeah, what was Tomasino, 6 years ago?
Yeah, 2019, 2020, 2019, I believe.
2019 first round by Nashville.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not having a player come from this organization, I mean, everybody wants to get to the next level. We are a premier development league, as far as junior hockey goes, and that's exactly what you strive to do at the beginning of the year. That's what we talked about as far as, individual goals, and hopefully achieve that within the team setting. But, Kevin has been spectacular 2 years in a row. I mean, he deserves to get drafted. We're all hoping he gets drafted, and it's important not only for the management and the organization that drafted him, but for the coaches that helped develop him along the way, for the teammates that, tried to help him get to where he was with success, the fans to see something good come out of Niagara for the first. It is important to absolutely everybody that's proud to say they're either a fan or work for the Niagara IceDogs. And, Kevin is a person you want to see get drafted so bad, not because of what he's done on the ice, but because who he is off of it. He immerses himself in the community, gives back anything that's ever asked of him, is one of the friendliest guys you could ever meet, one of the hardest workers I've ever come across, and, I mean, the kid deserves it. And, I almost feel like sometimes he's got, a raw shake at things just because he's been a part of a team that hasn't had a lot of success on the ice. So, as far as Kevin goes and everybody who supports him, I think it's, very important, even to the point where, we're all going to be there in Vegas cheering him on this upcoming summer.
Ice Dogs head coach Ben Boudreau. Ben, thanks a lot for joining us. We're going to leave you with this. Do you have any questions for us? You get to turn the tables on us for once if you'd like.
I mean, to be honest with you, this is just an eyes wide open experience right now, and I can't wait to see some of these guys. I think our prospects are coming in today at 10:30. I'm looking forward to meeting them. But, my favorite comment, was when he was asking about the cheeseburgers, Brady Waslin. So I hope that we get that deal going with Wendy's, and I hope
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
the last minute this year.
Maybe a free Baconator for the head coach. But
There it is.
IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau joins us on the live stream. Ben, thanks a lot for doing this, and look forward to having you continue to get engraved here in the Niagara community and continue to build off your plan for years to come here for this organization.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Paul.
That was Ben Boudreau, the IceDogs head coach, and the IceDogs are about to pick number 113. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back with that selection. Stay right here. We're right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family.
Pets bring immense joy to our homes, becoming an integral part of our families. But this living, loving experience often requires a little extra care and attention. That's where Global Pet Foods comes in, with owners and staff ready to support you every step of the way. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today. 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Niagara Golf Lounge features 2 state-of-the-art indoor golf simulators, allowing you to play some of the world's best courses all year round. The perfect place to indulge all season long. Don't worry about getting thirsty while you play around with your friends. Their fully stocked bar offers a wide selection of drinks, appetizers, and a variety of meals are also available to enjoy before, during, or after you play. Grab a seat next to the fire in their comfortable sports lounge. Didn't bring your clubs? No problem. They have partnered with TaylorMade to offer you the best rental clubs. You won't want to miss their exclusive NFL and NHL giveaways for the Buffalo Sabres and Buffalo Bills. Located in the Best Western Plus Cairncroft Hotel, 6400 Lundy's Lane in Niagara Falls. Visit NiagaraGolfVacations.com to learn more and to reserve your golf bay today. The Niagara Golf Lounge, Niagara's home for golf and sport all year round.
Are you looking to hire? Let the Niagara Employment Help Center save you valuable time and money by making your hiring process easier. Their services include free job postings in-house and on their website, fill job vacancies quickly and efficiently, access to a bank of potential employees, reduce employment costs, and financial incentives may be available to offset the cost of new hire training. Check out the website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983. In the Niagara region, Global Pet Foods is your destination for premium pet nutrition and caring expertise. Whether you've welcomed a new furry family member or need advice on top quality nutrition, their dedicated staff is ready to help. Discover why Global Pet Foods' lesser-known premium brands outshine the big corporate names. Their team's passion ensures your pet's health and vitality. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where premium brands and caring staff make the difference. J&L Flooring is Niagara's specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride and provide elite customer service and support. With a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety of truly unique products, J&L Flooring is your specialty flooring and decor boutique shop. All of their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced so you can feel good about your flooring choices. Their goal is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity. Offering a unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team, they simplify the process to make your life easier and to make your home more beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road in Niagara Falls or find out more at jnlflooring.com. If you think you can get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack at J&L Flooring. Since 1999, Niagara Denture Clinic has been helping thousands of patients achieve natural-looking smiles with the confidence to show them off. Sean Battelle and his wife Anne, both licensed denturists, bring a wealth of skill and experience to the warm and friendly atmosphere to their Niagara Falls location at 5501 Drummond Road. And their on-site Niagara Hearing Clinic offers free hearing tests and a variety of services to fit your needs. This family-run practice takes pride in providing superior care and service to their patients, along with the best premium products available on the market. Get the best work done at a more reasonable price. Niagara Denture Clinic is here to help. Protect your teeth with a mouth guard, replace missing teeth, and get better hold with your dental implants. Call them today for a free consultation at 905-353-1552 or check them out online at niagaradentureclinic.com. Niagara Denture Clinic, creating natural smiles in the Niagara region for 25 years.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Galyanov.
This is Gavin Bryant.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to our Niagara IceDogs OHL Draft live stream right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of the great Niagara region locations. Brandon Quiddo and Cam Halbert are back with you, reacting to Day 2 of the Niagara IceDogs Draft. And as we were in our commercial break, it was Charlie Holtz, centerman from Markham, Ontario, from the North York Rangers, going to the Niagara IceDogs with the 6th round selection. And so the IceDogs grab a centerman here. We just heard from the IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau before our commercial break. And a lot of good stuff there from the head coach, Cam, as far as what his plan is going into next season, and with bringing in some exciting young players and obviously wanting to give Kevin He the draft bump. What were your takeaways from what the head coach had to say as the IceDogs pick a centerman here in the 6th round?
Remember later on in the year when there was a moment or a game, I don't remember what game it was against. It was later in the year where it was Galyanov, Zada, and Rubrick were the centers. You had 3 16-year-old centers, and it was because they had performed well in the prior game. And the thing that took away, why I wanted to bring that up, is because I asked something we talked about a lot, like, will Rubrick play center? Because he's built kind of like a centerman, so gifted offensively, obviously a good pedigree as well. But he had mentioned that the team, the part where the team organizational depth of left-handed centers is at center. So to move him, who might be a good center, but he's a great winger, and have someone who is a good center try and move out and learn how to play the wing, isn't really, he's going to let his best players play in the best spot available for them specifically, and not so much, okay, I think you should be a centerman, just based on, everything else that you should go play there. So that was the biggest takeaway I had. I thought that was really nice and candid, because he definitely rewards his players and definitely holds them accountable, good and bad, when things are done. And I thought that kind of rang true with that statement, that why, he was an elite scorer on the wing. Why move him to center when you've got a lot of great centermen? You listed off like 7 that could play center. So, interesting there. We do take another centerman. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean they're going to play center in the OHL. But we obviously just some more offensive depth there. I think that we're still in that range of best player available. Take the best player available.
So we are now in the 6th round here at the OHL Draft, and the IceDogs will pick again. They're actually coming up on the clock here to begin round 7. They'll be on the clock at 1:23, currently at 1:19 with the Oshawa Generals. So the IceDogs will pick again here in the 7th round. They've taken a defenseman and a centerman so far here on day 2.
Yeah, let's go quickly through the names of everyone who's been drafted by the IceDogs. So you had Brady Wasselin, who went 4th overall, which was actually surprising to see him fall to 4th overall. Followed that up by the 30th overall pick. We got Maximus Crete, which again was a massive. It just seems like a massive steal in the industry. Players that people that are kind of commenting on it. Then we've got Matthew Humphreys, our goaltender, who was taken at 44th overall. So we've got a new project goaltender to work behind Flores and Robertson. You've got Nicholas Frasca, who was our other 3rd-round pick. That was our first defenseman off the board. Obviously going with 2 forwards and then a goaltender. Defense is definitely an area that needs to be improved upon throughout this year. So we've got Frasca and with the 3rd pick, and then to start today, we got Jacob McMahon going 68th overall, another left-handed defenseman or another left defenseman, and then we just got Charlie Holtz.
Charlie Hoddles.
Hoddles?
Hoddles.
All right, there we go. We're going to have to get the name pronunciation. It's always to see who we have to get Rod to get the phonetic way to spell.
So the IceDogs have made 6 selections so far in the 2024 OHL draft. Going to go back to the full draft list here. And we're at pick number 121. Niagara's getting closer to being on the clock, so I'll get the music going here. Get the on the clock. So Niagara coming up at 123. We're at 121 at the moment.
What was your biggest takeaway from speaking with head coach Ben Boudreau?
Well, I mean, I liked when you brought up about Robrick playing center, and they have so many left shot
I wanted to put it in perspective, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we didn't think that. We're kind of just locked in, like, yeah, we got to play him here. Playing Armchair GM.
Literally, on the Armchair GM Sports Network.
Nice
Good plug there. But, no, when you have that many left-handed centermen, it's hard to be able to navigate, okay, which ones are going to end up staying at center. Again, there could be some moves made or guys not coming back, but regardless, you're going to have to move some of those guys to the wing at some point. So you'd assume that from the way that he was describing it, maybe we see Ryan Robrick stay at the wing for now. Again, we don't want to sit here and speculate on his roster or his lineup card, but
got an extra year too,
right?
Ryan, because of that late birthday. I mean, it's a very unique situation. I just that pick not getting 1st overall. Again, you can't speculate, but it definitely changes things.
Niagara's coming up. Another player from the Ottawa Myers Automotive was just taken.
Half that team's gone.
In the mid rounds. I don't think they had a lot of top end guys, but they had a lot of guys that are going.
Who was their highest selection?
I don't want to look right now because I want to wait for Niagara's pick, but I
okay.
will get back to you on that one. But London is on the clock here. It's crazy. They were the team that I would expect to have taken, the Valentinis and the Zach Nymans to be able to hopefully recruit them, because that's London's big thing is they're able to lure those players in. But it was the now Brampton Steelheads and James Richmond going that way.
I think you nailed it on the Steelhead about getting the compensatory picks in the following year, because they're at their window. They're kind of in that window of their playoff run with their 2 top end goaltenders, as well as Misa as well. But a fantastic year. He's going to get drafted this year. He really rejuvenate his career. A strong offensive performance, and we'll see. But maybe they say, maybe they think, hey, we're not gonna. These players might not make our lineup this year. With the thought that let's get extra picks the following year, high-end picks. Later on in the cycle. I think that might be the thought process there. I don't know. Because it is curious that they're obviously moving. It's not even a stable. It's not stable, but you know what I mean. There's in flux. They're moving buildings, teams, all of that, to try and sway them. But who knows?
London Knights are on the clock at 122. Niagara will pick at 123. Cam just went over the players selected so far for Niagara and adding that organizational depth up and down that Ben Boudreau talked about, as far as needing to make sure that they have multiple guys here to be able to fill those spots. and not limping to the finish line like they did this past season with missing a fourth line at times, using call-up players and what have you. So I think it's an exciting day for him to be able to know that there is some reinforcements coming, and they will have some quality bodies that they're able to call upon when the injuries do happen.
Absolutely, and we saw that throughout, right? We saw that at the end of the year, Dionov and Budiev as well.
Niagara is on the clock.
Here we go. Let's see, who are we getting with our 7th round pick? Let's take a look at some of the prior 7th round picks. See if there's someone who made a Cameron Snow. That's a fan favorite. That is a fan favorite.
Didn't have the size, but had the heart.
He had unlimited amounts of heart.
I respected it as an undersized guy myself.
He played penalty kill and everything on a good team like that. That was the Akil Thomas and Tomasino years.
Bear with us. We're just waiting in for the official announcement.
No one on the 7th round is jumping off the page here, so maybe we might be in luck for our first impact player in the 7th round.
Left winger Chase McDougall from Huron Perth Lakers.
There we go.
Left winger, 6'1", 189 pounds.
Size is definitely a theme here, I feel. With the last two, McMahon is also over 6 feet, I believe.
I'm gonna click on Niagara's picks just to bear with me here.
I believe he was over 6 foot. Their defenseman.
Yep.
He was over, and Hoddles is also 6 foot. So
Crete is a smaller player, but he plays big.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He's the only guy that they took
And
under
McDougall.
6 foot.
So we got Chase McDougall.
Yep. Left winger from the Huron Perth Lakers.
Okay, and speaking about Crete, again, just talking to people in the industry, finished every check in all of the games that they watched, and we've seen smaller players be physical in the OHL. I mean, one of my favorite players to watch as an IceDogs fan was Kian Sopa. And he was undersized, but absolutely finished every check. Like, he was one of my favorite players to watch from that team. I can't get over that team in 2019. I know that they were end of the end cycle and whatnot, obviously, after, Robertson and everything like that, but
Just answering a question in the chat with this many centers taken so far, do y'all see some trades coming? Obviously, a couple guys getting moved to the wing, but still a lot of centers.
I think the one place it's sent, like when you go into a training camp, imagine a situation where you've got a pure winger that is more than likely not going to be able to learn center at this level, or expected to excel, right? They've played wing the majority of their career, now they've got to learn how to play center. A center has an easier job learning how to play wing than a wing does learning how to play center. Not that it can't be done. It happens all the time. But I think that might be a philosophy. I personally, following the San Jose Sharks for so long, that was literally what Doug Wilson would do. He would draft centermen and move them to the wing throughout their tenure as a Shark. So, Patrick Marleau was that. He ended up being a winger, but they drafted him as a center. And I just think that drafting centermen is never a bad option, especially on a team that head coach Boudreau talked about the power play needing to be, needing a big bump next year, and the fact that he'd mentioned that their face-off rate in the power play was less than 20%. To never start with the puck on the power play, that's just, that alone, you get that to 50%, and you probably bumped up your power play percentage by a couple points. That alone, so I think that's that's probably the thought process there, is that you draft big guys that can play center. We've also we do have a depth at center, but it's not really a size standpoint. We don't really, Asadorian's a great center, but, not, I believe under 6 foot. So you will see. Zada's going to grow as well. And Gavin, what is Gavin listed at? If it is, it'd be 6 foot.
It's going to pull up their roster real quick.
I'd have to hazard a guess that he'd be right around 6 foot, if he is.
5'11".
Okay, so good eye by me. So that might be because, again, the players that they're drafted, you're 16 at 6 foot, so more than likely not going to stay there. So we'll have to see, but yeah, so that might be the thought process there. But the team as a whole, we talked about it, losing Federico. That's the biggest physical side of the team, drafting players that, bigger guys that might have the chance to be a little bit more physical, be harder to play against. Other than Rubrick, how many guys listed on the team right now are over 6 foot?
There's currently Kevin He, Ethan Zada, William Stewart, Ryan Robrick, Mike Podolou.
I'll have to see about Podolou because he's in his overage here.
Mason Ray, Andrew Vermeulen, Eric He on forward are all over 6 foot.
Yeah. Right at it, too. Kevin is right at 6 foot. It's actually surprising to me they have him listed at that. I guess he'd be right at it. And more than likely not going to shoot up.
So we're looking at Chase McDougall's stats real quick for the Huron-Perth Lakers in the Alliance U16. He had 23 points in 29 games, and he also had 5 points in 9 playoff games for them as well. He played 1 game in the GOJHL for the St. Mary's Lincolns as well, so he was called up to that league. So
GOJHL has the best team names because they've just been around for what seems like ever, so like their names, yeah.
So, again, Chase McDougall from, I guess, he's listed from St. Mary's, but he only played 1 game with them, but he played with the Huron-Perth Lakers, U16 AAA. So, again, the IceDogs continuing to round out the organizational depth. They've picked 7 players so far.
We've got a lot coming up from 159 to 181, so a 20-pick span roughly. We've got 4 picks.
Okay.
So quite a few coming up.
We're at pick 130 with Kingston at the moment.
I wish I brought my notes from the training camp, if I could find them. Just looking at players that, were impressive during training camp. That
I think, wasn't Brandon Gill one of them?
Yeah, I was literally trying to find him in the draft. He was an invitee, no?
I believe so.
Yeah, he was an invitee because I remember he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was the guy you talked about at last year's training camp. So
that he might have a shot.
Yeah. But again, 7 picks for Niagara so far. We're gonna await their next selection, which is going to be 159 and they actually picked back to back in the 8th round at 159 and 160 coming up here. But
in the 8th round, I'm gonna go through the 8th rounders in the Anthony Agostinelli.
It's a good one.
There we go. That's an OHLer. I still can't get over Vince Dunn in the 6th. He was smaller. Like I said,
Marty
smaller,
Williamson almost moved him to a forward.
Yeah.
It almost happened.
Let's see.
Daniel Singer, another.
Yeah, I was gonna say that name.
If you'll remember him.
That name sounds familiar. Why?
Yeah, he was he was played a couple years for the IceDogs. Yep. That's if you're going way back into historical context.
Jonathan Kovacevic was a 12th rounder.
I'm just looking at specific 8 rounders.
Yeah, I'm just looking at 8th rounders. Yeah.
Mitch Terrio played a few years for Niagara. That was back in 2009. But yes, so Daniel Singer and Anthony Agostinelli.
Yeah, would be the big ones.
Anthony Agostinelli, I feel so bad for that young man. He was a Niagara IceDog for a long time, and then got injury problems ended his career early. He still had 2 more years left and just wasn't able to kind of play through that. But he was kind of the lasting guy of that whole era of that 2016 team. So.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, because he was a 2019 draft pick. That Isaac Enright was
or the 2018 team. I mean, sorry about that.
Yeah,
because the 2018 team was supposed to have big aspirations, but were taken out in the 2nd round by the Oshawa Generals. That was the year they went and traded a boatload of picks for Jason Robertson and Jack Studnicka.
Yeah, I mean, 2019, they had the 1st, 3rd, and then 6th.
Yeah,
so
because they went and made those big trades. They lost in the 2nd round to the Oshawa Generals that year, and they had much bigger aspirations than that.
That was the last time that they were in the playoffs, no? Yeah, it would have
so.
been. Yeah, it would have been.
And I believe Akil Thomas and Phil Tomasino were on the 2nd line on that team. So you had guys like Robertson and Studnicka up front.
That is, man.
Robertson led the league in points that year, although he was with Kingston as well. He came over halfway through the year, but when you look at it, that was a special team, and that was kind of the last taste that the IceDogs have had at playoff hockey. Yes, thank you, Colin. George Diaco OHL champion was an 8th round pick, but not of the IceDogs. We are currently waiting on the next selection. We are at pick 134. We're flying by the way.
Who do you think, as your coverage of the OHL playoffs, of who's left, who is the best shot at? Like what is your predictions right now going forward for the OHL championship?
I'd say it's going to be hard to beat the North Bay Battalion with the way that they're looking right now in the East. I think Brantford getting upset by Ottawa really changed things.
It's funny
because I really thought Brantford was going to make a deep run.
I'm not going to lie. Every time we watch them, they look like a playoff team, but I feel like they lacked like the they didn't have the first line that Sudbury had, like the flash, I guess. You know what I mean? Like they looked like they were a perfect playoff team.
We're going to ask Colin Ward about that.
Yes,
when he comes
I would love to talk to him. Yes, I would love to talk to him about it.
I feel like I don't even have a right to talk about the Brantford Bulldogs, but from the outside looking in, it was very disappointing because we really thought that Jay McKee's team was going to be a deep playoff team this year, and it just didn't come to fruition with the moves that they made. But I'd say North Bay in the East right now is my team to beat. I still think Oshawa. Barry kind of exposed them a little bit on their flaws and really took it to them as the 8th seed. I mean, they took a game from them, almost took a couple of games. It wasn't a 4-0 clean sweep. The West, to me, is anybody's game because you've got London, you've got Sioux, and you've got the Kitchener Rangers as well as Saginaw. Like, I think those top 4 in the West is going to be a bloodbath, and whatever team survives is going to be tough.
Sioux isn't talked about enough, in my opinion. I think all year round, because I remember they came out of the gate and maybe overperformed in terms of like the projections early on in the season, because they were leading the West there for quite some time. No, like for the beginning part of the season, the first couple months. But no, they've had a really good run. We don't see them a lot either. That might be why bias there.
No, go ahead. I'm just
no, absolutely. We're waiting. We're almost a few picks away here.
Yep. I believe Ben Boudreau said the players are starting to come in around 10:30, and we're probably gonna record up until 12, and then anything else that I do record, we'll gotta put it into the draft recap episode that I'll put up with all the interviews. But we'll see how we can get here. Right now, we might be linking up early, actually, with one of our guests. Just bear with me here for one moment.
Excellent. So we're in the 7th round still, and it definitely flies in comparison to last night. And it's funny because it's kind of surprising that there is any delay, simply because a large cheer just went out. Wondering if someone showed up. We know Brady Wasslin's going to be here soon.
So we're awaiting Niagara's pick, and it's not for a while, I believe. What did I say? 160, 159, and 160.
Yeah.
We're going to get our next guest connected here. Just bear with me 1 second. Just going to give him a quick call and get him connected here on the PHBA hotline.
Oh, excellent. We're going to call him.
Yep. I just have to make sure I'm connected on the Bluetooth.
You're very tech savvy.
There we go.
Look at that. We haven't done that yet, at least on the recaps or anything. So
yeah.
There it is.
Hey guys.
Hey, Colin Ward from the OHL and 60 podcast and the Dogcast for the Brantford Bulldogs is now with us on the show. Colin, thanks a lot for joining us. We've been kind of talking about the Brantford Bulldogs here a little bit, and felt like I didn't really have a right to talk about them until we got you on here. I know it was their first season in Brantford, and it didn't end the way that everybody wanted it to. But again, first-round exit, but there's a lot of good things coming to the Brantford Bulldogs. How would you assess kind of the first year moving from Hamilton and now being engraved there in Brantford?
You know what, guys? First off, thanks for having me on. Great coverage all night last night. I know it's a grind. It's a long day. So great work to you guys for doing this. It's incredible. But the first season, guys, it was incredible, honestly. The playoffs, I've never heard an atmosphere like that in Brantford. And as you guys know, coming to games in Brantford this year, that building gets loud. But we've heard about it throughout the regular season, saying like, you really couldn't put the picture into words of what it's going to be like. And then all of a sudden the playoffs came and how loud that venue was, and the fans were right into it. You pull into the arena, you see the Bulldog flags on the light posts throughout the city. On the city buses, they have the Go Dogs Go on the digital signs. It was just incredible support all year. And definitely a tough loss, a tough end to the season, but it was exceeded every expectations. I mean, there's a waiting list, guys. There's a waiting list right now for season tickets. Over 1,000 names on the waiting list right now. And by the way, we only signed a lease for 3 years in Brantford. So that is incredible support. And I think in the business operations side, you really can't ask for much better than that.
What's your Thanks for joining us, by the way, my man, and I appreciate the kind words. What's your expectations now going to next year? And you mentioned that this season exceeded all of the expectations, I think, this past season. But now with how this season went, what's your expectations next season, and where do you see the team kind of landing?
I think this is set to be all in for next year. I think when you look at the job that Matt Turek and staff did at the trade deadline, you get a guy like Owen Protz, is a steady Eddie back there. He's such a physical, gritty defenseman. He reeks playoff player. When you think of Owen Protz, you think that's a guy you want in the postseason. He can lay the big hit, gets pucks out of his own end. You don't have to worry about him making a bad pass, which is huge. I'm very excited for next year. I think the next year is kind of the year that the Bulldogs want to go for it. When you look at the deadline, you get 7 picks for Jordan Donovan. You get Owen Protz for Noah Van Vliet and a couple picks as well. It sets up to be very successful. Nick Lardis coming back. The OAs coming back are going to be strong. They have like 7 guys that could come back next year. There's a lot of opportunity there for guys. And it's just going to be interesting to see how Jay McKee and staff slot guys in. But the top 6 right now, and you're looking at a top 6 of potentially the rookie of the year and Jake O'Brien, Merrick Van Acker, who could be a first-round pick this year in the NHL draft. Luca Testa, who could be a drafted player, Nick Lardis, Patrick Thomas, Florian Jacki, Zach Lavoie, as you guys know. There's just tons of potential there up front. It's just going to be where can they slot guys in on the back end in the defensive zone, and who's going to be the starting goaltender.
What was I completely agree. When you listed off their lineup, definitely a lot more star-studded than just what came to mind. Because every time that we watched Brantford play against the IceDogs, it was always a bloodbath. The team just looked like we were talking about it just before we hopped on with you, that maybe they lacked a little flash, but they just looked like a playoff team, like a team that would just take a piece out of you no matter what. What do you think went wrong on this run, and what do you expect to be the acquisitions or the focus in the offseason going to training camp for the team next year?
To be honest, the one thing that went wrong was we just had so many injuries this year in Brantford. You missed Nick Lardis for a long period of time, for half the year. I mean, you trade for Zach Lavoie, and you guys know all about Zach Lavoie, his playmaking abilities, his ability to finish is near the top in the league. He's a superstar goal scorer in the Ontario Hockey League. He was second in the league in shots this year on goal. And when you have him and Nick Lardis for only 1 game this year, other than the playoffs, it's hard to really get your footing, right? When Nick Lardis is out, Tomas Hamara, who's a plus 37 on the season, Ben Bujal misses time. The guys that they had out this year is very tough. And even Hamara missing the playoff series against Ottawa, that's a big difference when you're asking a guy like Nico Krampotic, who was an 8th-round pick in last year's draft, a 16-year-old, to step in like that and play 20 minutes a night, 18 to 20 minutes a night in the playoffs in his rookie season. That's a tough ask for a team that wants to go for it, right? So I just didn't think it was in a tough spot. It was a tough spot to kind of get into the playoffs and to win a round against a healthy Ottawa team. And quite frankly, you got to give credit when credit is due. Ottawa's a very well-coached team. If you play for Dave Cameron, as you guys saw this year, Dave Cameron's a coach that he demands structure, he demands details, and his teams, he gets a healthy lineup like that, and we just weren't healthy enough in Brantford to beat Ottawa. And Ottawa, credit to them, that forecheck that they gave, they're going to give Oshawa fits as well. I know it's the postseason, everything gets dialed in, right? But the postseason, their forecheck was incredible. The Bulldogs just couldn't break the puck out. It shouldn't take more than 3 passes to get out of your own blue line, but it did. And it gave the Bulldogs fits all 6 games in that series.
Colin Ward from the OHL and 60 podcast and the Dogcast covering the Brantford Bulldogs is with us. Colin, before I get to the general thoughts on the IceDogs, I want to talk about a couple of local connections here that Brantford took so far. Patrick Babin, the right defenseman, the Niagara Falls, Ontario native, as well as today taking a St. Catharines native, and Maxim Korovic, the goaltender, both from the Niagara North Stars U16 group. So Brantford digging down here in Niagara, taking 2 players from the Niagara North Stars and 2 local products here. What can you let our fans know about what you know about those 2 guys so far?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to have a joke for Luca Testa. Did you make those picks? Like, what's going on there with Luca Testa, another Niagara guy? What's going on? He's coming from Matt Turek, the general manager. But no, Patrick, we'll start with him. What a player he is. I'm excited to see what he can do. When I watched him at the OHL Cup, he gets pucks out smoothly. He's never in a bad situation, which is ideal when you look at a defenseman in the top 3 rounds. You want a guy that can break pucks out. He's clean, right? You don't have to worry about him turning pucks over. And he's very good in his own end. And he has 36 points in 34 games. He's a plug-and-play guy. He reminds us a lot of who the Bulldogs have right now in Lucas Moore. He can run your power play, but he can also run your penalty kill in the back end. It's huge to have that guy that can play any way possible. And plus, he's right-handed. It's nice to have a right-handed shot defenseman, guys, who's good offensively. It's hard to come by nowadays in the NHL and in the OHL. So it's nice to see that right-handed shot defenseman come over. And it's a good pick for the Bulldogs for sure. I'm excited to see him.
And quick thoughts on Korovic from what you've seen, obviously just taken today, but a St. Catharines native as well.
Yeah, you know what, Korovic, it's more the size. It's so hard to tell what a goalie's going to be, right? You take Korovic 84th overall, and it's one of those situations there, too, where a goaltender, it can be we always see this every year. You can be the top goaltender in the OHL draft, but you don't turn out. And then we see a guy go in the 8th round and all of a sudden become Marco Costantini. It's so interesting to me how goaltendings work because you really can't judge them. And me being a goaltender, it was one of those things where goaltending scouts need all the credit in the world. How they find these guys is just the absolute crapshoot because you have no idea who these guys are. But Maximus Korovic he's from Stony Creek. He's 6'2", 181. Another big goaltender, guys. And the one highlight I have on him is he posted a 231 goals against this year in 21 games for Niagara. A solid Niagara team, but that's a solid number. And maybe the shots weren't there, but he's calm, he's cool and collective, which I think is the one thing you want to look at in a goaltender. How do they move in the crease? How do they move across the crease? How do they feel their net? And similar to Matthew Humphreys, you guys took the 3rd round at 44. Moves well, calm, cool, collective is kind of what you want to see in a goaltender, mature, right? Because you don't really know who these guys are.
What did you think about the IceDogs draft so far?
You know what? I'm very excited to see Niagara because it's one of those situations. Last year, I know the Bulldogs, there's been success against Niagara IceDogs, but the one thing is about Niagara, throughout the year, you saw progress. Mm-hmm. In the rebuild so far, in my opinion, from the outside looking in, guys, this has been the best year you guys have had, in my opinion.
Far, yeah.
And I think you have Robrick come in, exceed every expectations anyone could have had from the organization in Robrick. You had Zada have a really good rookie season, to be honest. That's a solid rookie season. You have a 4th-round pick play for you guys regular minutes. And Gallianov, it just continued to grow, continue to develop. Wassland, a great pick. That's a pick where I had him 3rd on my board. Sees the ice well. You guys mentioned earlier about him training with Patrick Kane. It's so nice that he's training with that pedigree, right? It's who you want to be with. The good teams in the Ontario Hockey League, the best players in any league around the world, they want to play with the best players. So to see him play with the best players and practice with them, because you learn more in practice and really grind with them, the day-to-day life is a huge plus to me, and let alone how good of a player he is. 6'1", 195 at 15, 16 years old. I mean, that's a plug-and-play guy. That's a guy that you're looking at possibly getting 25 points in a rookie year minimum, and that's a heck of a rookie season nowadays.
And you talked about Maximus Creed, and you texted me last night, and you said comparable player is our boy Gavin Bryant, and I know you have a good relationship with the IceDogs captain throughout your younger days. But what have you seen from Maximus Creed, and why do you think that he was such a well, I guess, looked after draft pick there with a lot of the scouts and people that do cover the league saying that was such a great pick with the IceDogs at 30th overall in the 2nd round, Maximus Creed?
you know what's good about Maximus Creed is he's got that dogged effort, right? And I know in Brantford we always talk about the dog mentality, but that dog on the bone play. And that's the thing with Maximus. 5'8", 164, right? He's not a very big guy, but the thing is he plays like he's 6'1". The guy's always in the battles, and he doesn't lose battles. And it kind of reminds me of Denver Barkey. Denver Barkey came in the Ontario Hockey League in London at 16 years old, but didn't lose puck battles. Now all of a sudden he's a drafted player. He's a 100-point guy at 18, 19 years old. That's the type of player I love in Maximus. I think he's a guy similar to when Gavin Bryant was in his minor midget season in Brantford when I saw him play a lot. He's one of those guys. He doesn't lose puck battles. He leads by example. He has a high motor. And that's something that you can build around. If that's a guy that can listen to the structure with Ben Boudreau and buy into the plan, that's an easy buy-in guy. And that's the type of pick you want in Niagara. And I'm very excited to see this. And I mean, remember, he's playing in that upper Cyclones League in Ottawa, coming out of the upper Cyclones. You're playing against a lot of 18-year-olds there. So at 5'8", and you're playing against bigger and older opponents, that's huge for your development. And very exciting to see him. Honestly, you know what you're going to get from Wasselin, but I think the most exciting pick right now is Maximus Creed. It has to be.
Colin Ward from the OHL and 60 podcast with us. Colin, we want to get your general thoughts on some of the other stuff that's been going on. Cam and I have kind of been deliberating about it. We saw some of the players that have chosen to go in the BCHL route, the USHL route, and some of the players that are kind of not committing to the Ontario Hockey League. We saw Valentini would have been a top 3 pick. He fell to Mississauga, and whether they're going to take him or whether they're going to be able to recruit him or not. We saw Zach Nyman, probably the top defenseman, commit to the BCHL, and ironically enough, Mississauga took him as well. They're going to be in tough sledding with that recruitment for those two guys. But from your opinion, covering the whole league in general, what is your thoughts on this whole process as guys start to continue to try to go to other leagues and try to dictate kind of the way that the draft's going to go? We've seen it with London in the past, taking some guys later and hopefully able to recruit them later on down the road. But what's your opinion on this whole situation?
You know, it's an odd situation. We had a big, Reese Dumani and myself had a big rant on the OHL 60 podcast a couple days back about this situation. One, and I think, honestly, it's not really a consideration but amongst media, but it's one of those things where AAA hockey is expensive, right? So if let's say University of Minnesota or Boston College or North Dakota want to offer you a full ride, full living, you don't have to pay a dime to go, why wouldn't you do that, right? And I think it's tough for the OHL to match that right now. And I think that's honestly a big option. I think you get your schooling paid for, you get your living, you get everything in the NCAA. And now with the transfer portal in the NCAA growing into the hockey side of things, you see it. Myself being an Ohio State fan, right? You see it in the football side, you see it in the basketball side. Now you're seeing it in the hockey, right? With Matthew Wood going to Minnesota from UConn, or from Connecticut, it's one of those things where it's happening. You have more freedom. You're not tied down. And I just think that's one of the big options, the elephants in the room, but it won't be addressed. And I think that's why the CHL needs that partnership with the NCAA, because right now the NCAA has momentum in the situation. Mississauga, it was very odd to me to see them do this. I think it's going to be, if there's one negative situation, I think, then why not go for it? I know the conditional picks that you get out of it if guys don't commit, but next year's their year to go for it. You're not going to be able to trade your first round pick. So I wonder if you're banking on that commitment, and maybe maybe they trade him to a team that he had interested in Valentini, and that happens. But it's just an interesting draft for me to see Mississauga draft 2 guys committed elsewhere. Maybe they try to trade those guys for picks to go all in next year where they should go all in. But looking back at it 2 years ago at Mississauga, you have James Hardy, you have Del Mastro, you have Del Belbaluz. You had a lot of good talent there. But I thought they were closer, 2 moves closer to going in for a playoff round, to win a couple playoff rounds than what they did in selling. Owen Beck as well. It was an interesting draft so far from my standpoint to see Mississauga, but definitely they have a good coach in there and a lot of recruiting to be done. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them flip those picks, and then you get more picks plus a conditional pick if that comes about. If they recruit them.
Do you think that's? I mentioned this as a potential idea of why that was done. Obviously, with the intention maybe of them not playing for them, but those compensatory picks. Do you think that maybe it's protecting their cycle? So obviously, you've got a 3 or 4 year window that when, your window is up, you see what happened with Windsor, where they just go from first to last, essentially. Maybe they soften the fall if you've got 2 first-round picks next year, as well as a third, I believe, an extra third that maybe, when they don't have that dramatic fall after, they've got and not to mention they have such a good goalie tandem that I think they definitely need some offensive help just because, every game we saw against the IceDogs was 1-goal games and the IceDogs couldn't score a goal against them. So, maybe that's the thought process there?
No, absolutely, because it makes perfect sense for that to get that extra first-round picks. And then if you get a second in, if you ship somebody out to get a couple boatload of picks in, then you can buy like that way, sell to buy type move. And then you still have 2 first-round picks where you can trade all the seconds you get for a player. I honestly, I agree with you on that one. I believe that's got to be the scenario that they have in plan because there is no need for them not to go for it. They just need to get goal scoring. They're very good defensively. They've always been good defensively, and they will be good defensively with James Richmond and staff. But the thing is about goal scoring, and like you mentioned, I truly believe if you have the 2 first-round picks, it's a nice luxury then to trade everything else, right? You have 2 picks in the top 21 at least. So I agree with that one. I think that's definitely a good option.
What's your way too early prediction of some players that maybe are NHL drafted players that come back for one more year that are moved? We mentioned off the top, like Ty Nelson, for example. Who could you see that would be kind of the highest priority trade for any team trying to go in if they were to come back to the OHL for another OHL season?
You know what, guys? I think the biggest one's going to be Luca Pinelli. What he did this year in Ottawa, going in for it, right? Getting Maillet, you get Millet, you get Kressler. You picked up 3 veteran guys. You gave up a lot of picks. Last year, you go trade all those picks for Mintyukov, Logan Morrison. So you made a lot of moves. Usually in the cycle, when we look at Windsor from last year to this year, right, you look at that, it's kind of their time's up to sell. So we'll see what they do, but I think Luca Pinelli is going to be a huge name to watch. 46 goals this year. The guy just scores, and the release he has, he's such a good player on the forecheck as well. He's not just a goal scorer, which is huge. And as you guys know, watching the game, it's nice when you can get that guy. Oh, he's got 45-plus goals, right? He's a 45, 50 goal scorer. But he's very good in the forecheck. He's a dog on the puck, very good on the back check, first guy back. That's the stuff that's very huge from Luca Pinelli. I believe Luca Pinelli, if he gets sent back being an 05, that would be massive for the OHL and a massive name if Ottawa tends to sell.
Colin Ward from the OHL and 60 podcast and the Dogcast. Colin, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. I know you've got a big day ahead of you with the Brantford Bulldogs and heading down there for their draft coverage. But before we let you go ahead and give our listeners an opportunity to hear where they can find your good stuff with the Bulldogs and as well as your general OHL coverage.
Yeah, with the OHL, you can find us on anywhere you listen to your podcast at the OHL and 60 podcast. With the Bulldogs, you can find us on the Bulldogs Audio Network at the Dogcast. So just go on the Bulldogs website, Bulldogs Audio Network, and we're right on there.
Perfect. Well, Colin, we know 24 is a bad number with the Bulldogs, but hopefully that changes next year. But thanks a lot for joining us, and we really appreciate you coming on and giving us the kind words and giving us the great analysis from around the league and all season long. You guys have done a great job with your coverage as well.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. And hey, you know what? I don't want Bulldog fans to get upset with me, but being a Red Wings fan, the playoff streak ended at about 25, right? So it's not a good number for myself being a Wings fan, but hopefully Bulldog fans don't get on me too much. And thanks a lot, guys, for having me. I appreciate it. And great job this weekend, honestly. It's a grind. You know, you're in the blood, sweat, and tears. You're in the Val of the arena. You're in you guys are in the video room, right? So that's nice.
Yep.
But nothing worse than when they put you in a closet and it's like, oh, we'll be there when we're there. All the best, guys. You guys did a great job this year. I know it was a tough year there, but this is a great day for you guys. It's been a great draft. Be excited, Niagara. It's what you guys need. You guys have just been wanting excitement. You guys got excitement the last 2 years. Enjoy this process. This is the playoffs in Niagara, and hopefully it's not the last, or hopefully it is the last time you guys are picking this early in the draft.
Yeah,
because that draft, another thing, being a Wings fan, guys, that draft lottery,
man.
it's tough.
Yep.
It's tough, but have some fun and enjoy the day, guys, and great work. We'll see you guys next season.
Yep, thanks, Colin. Appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.
Yep, see ya.
There was Colin Ward from the OHL and 60 podcast and the Dogcast on the PHPA hotline. Cam, a lot of good stuff there from Colin, talking about the general stuff, talked about the IceDogs a little bit there at the end as well, with talking about some of the prospects that they brought in and seeing the development this year with this Niagara IceDogs group under Ben Boudreau.
No, absolutely. I think that, again, anytime that you listen to the coverage outside, the general coverage of the OHL, obviously the last few years for the IceDogs has been it's been tough for a couple of years now. So any time that you hear someone in the industry that covers the league extensively, kind of get excited or let us know to be excited, it's always good. We watch all of the games, but it's now time. I think he said it right at the end there. This is our playoffs. And I think hopefully this is the last time. One thing I did want to mention, or did want to ask him, is does he think that this is the year that the IceDogs jump into the playoffs? And who would come out, just from a general coverage here. But I think that this year, when we talked about it early on or all the way throughout, we just wanted to be a little bit more competitive because the prior year we weren't at all, and we definitely had that. And we also had some great stories in Gavin as well as Rubric and now Kevin Heath.
Niagara is actually on the clock here in three picks. They'll have back-to-back at 159 and 160. We're currently at 156. Then we'll take another break after they make the two selections here, and we'll try to see if we can get another interview or two set up. I know Kevin He was planning on joining us today.
We also had some prospects, I think, come in for the first time.
Absolutely. So we did have somebody come through the door. I'm not sure who that was. I know it wasn't Brady Wasson because I know what he looks like. But we did have a couple of prospects start to file in here to the Meridian Centre for the Niagara IceDogs. But anything else from Colin Ward's chat there that you wanted to kind of touch up on?
I like his interesting thoughts on the committing to other leagues and whatnot. I think that he kind of nailed it on the head in terms of just. We talked about it last night, to be honest with you. The safety of playing in those other leagues or going the college route is if pro hockey isn't not everyone makes the NHL and not everyone makes the AHL or ECHL, right? Like a lot of players they'll go to the university route at the end of their OHL career. Going the collegiate route. You've got yourself set up to get a degree and things like that, in a much faster time frame because you've already been playing there. Not to mention, it's not like it was 15 years ago where you weren't getting the spotlight to get drafted into the NHL. The collegiate route now is turning out just a massive amount of prospects into the NHL. So I think that when you combined all of that, it's very attractive for especially the top end players in that would go in the Ontario Hockey League like we saw this year.
So we're waiting for the IceDogs to make two selections here at 159 and 160 in the 8th round. Did we already go over the 8th round picks throughout the years?
Yeah, I believe that there wasn't. Augustinelli was the only one, I believe.
Eric He was the 8th round pick taken last year.
Yeah, Augustinelli was in the 8th.
Okay, so it was Augustinelli and Daniel Singer were the two we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find any of the players that, going back all the way to 2008 that were after that. Let's say like from 9 to 10, from 9 to the end.
Colin says you can extend your career. You can play college till 24, 25 instead of 20.
Good. That's another. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I'm saying. Like it's just a safety. I mean,
Yeah.
you can keep playing, and like I said, you can earn your degree. All while there, right? So I mean, and you've got a head start on that. So I just think that like it's a very attractive route if they get all of the same, looks that you do. Ontario Hockey League is the best feeder league of the NHL, but recently we mentioned that post-COVID, that it has been the first round. I mean, I believe the Owen Power Draft was half of the entire first round was U.S. players, but that was definitely COVID influenced because they were able to play, or a majority of them were able to play. But we're still seeing that. I mean, even the top end Canadian players. So Celebrini is going to go first overall, Canadian, and he's going to be he played his collegiate career. Same with Fantilli. So you're seeing it more and more.
Niagara's almost on the clock here, so we'll get the on the clock going here.
Oh, Siebenaller.
Blake Siebenaller?
15th round in the OHL in 2012. That's unreal.
Niagara is on the clock now. North Bay took the brother of Owen Van Steensel, Lucas Van Steensel. So, again, you see that connection, and we do have the pick already here for the IceDogs. Brady Reel from the Sioux Junior Greyhounds. Left defenseman, 6'1", 181.
I'm seeing a trend continue. Defensemen that are over 6 feet tall. And again, we talked about that. I think that the forward core is the team as a whole. We mentioned that before. We spoke to Colin that a little undersized in some of the aspects. Obviously not at the high end with Rick and whatnot, but you lose Bronson Ride and Sobolev, those bigger guys, and Federico. While he wasn't 6, I don't believe he was listed at 6 foot. If he was, he played like he was 6'5". So, seeing on the back end to go with Frolov, who is a little bit more slender, as well as Padrekar and even Wysick. I think that's important. So, good to see get some big. Oh yeah, we have a back-to-back picks here. Who do we get?
Mateo Krajovic, right defenseman, 6 foot, from Elgin Middlesex Canucks.
That is definitely a trend. All right, it's big defenseman. We like that. And another right shot defenseman.
So let's go ahead and recap Niagara's picks here so far through their 8th round selection. They've taken, only one player is under 6 foot, and that was Maximus Crete at 5'8".
Play like that.
Yep. So the IceDogs have gone with 4 defensemen since the 3rd round here. 3 left defensemen and 1 right defenseman. 6'1", 6'2", 6 foot.
I would say that that's probably something that they are focusing on. And not to mention, remember, this isn't like the NHL draft where, they can fill out a little bit, but for the most part they've done growing. This is 6 foot at 16 is not necessarily where they're going to end when their OHL career is finished. So a potential chance to grow even more. So I think that is definitely a focus they put on, and it doesn't surprise me just given the roster makeup currently.
Played with Parker Vaughn on that Elgin Middlesex team. So
there we go.
That's always the thing, too, when there's a top-end player. I keep bringing it up, but when you look at a guy like Parker Vaughn, you're there scouting him, and then you see a guy like Mateo Krajovic, you say, okay, well, he impressed me that game, and I'm going to go back and take another look at him. So, in turn, those top-end players can help the rest of their teammates out.
It's really what London does so well. Like, I don't know if there's a team that's has a focus or from scouts and pro scouts more than the London Knights, just given their lineage and their history, and it always just seems to be that there's they're able to recruit players that maybe weren't planning on going to or playing to play in the OHL, but it doesn't necessarily have to be at that extent, but you get some players that that you're able to be seen more when you've got NHL guys in the lineup. So. We are picking in succession here.
163, Niagara takes Matthew Ross, right winger, 5'6".
Okay.
From the Oakville Rangers, so from that championship-winning team, right winger, 5'6", 141, Matthew Ross.
All right, there we go.
So they did go smaller.
They did go on the up front, yeah. But no, definitely the on the back end seems to be a trend of a much bigger defenseman.
Yeah, so the IceDogs have made 3 now we're into the 9th round now, so we can start looking at 9th round selections throughout the years. And Darcy DeWatcher was the latest one.
He played games
for Niagara.
He got into games. So.
Charlie Burns was another one. We've also got.
Go back.
Bear with us. We're just looking through the draft rankings throughout the years here.
I'm trying to see this even below, like 9th and below, throughout the years.
Matthew Phillip, I believe that name comes to mind for me. Jumping off the page. Now we're really getting into the older drafts here. I think that's it. So that would be Darcy DeWatcher and Charlie Burns, the latest 9th round picks of the IceDogs, where Matthew Ross was just taken.
I can't wait to text him, but he does look like Mason's probably there.
And scout for the Niagara IceDogs, Brian Drury, shout out to him. He was a 9th round pick as well back in the day.
There we go. I think Mason might be the best double-digit round pick for the IceDogs in their history in the 10th round.
You really just want it to be that, don't you?
No, I don't, because I guarantee you, I'm gonna hear about it.
So let's take a look at where Niagara picks next, and we're gonna see if we're gonna take a break here. Niagara
183, I think.
Niagara won't pick again until 181. So, yeah, we're going to take a break here. We're going to come back. We're going to try to figure out if we can get some more guests on for you guys as we continue on here for at least another hour or so of our live coverage of Day 2 of the Ontario Hockey League Priority Selection Draft for the Niagara IceDogs. So stay right here. We're right back on the Dog Pound Podcast after this short break. Thank you to everybody continuing to tune in here for our draft coverage. So this is another edition of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Stay with us.
Pets bring immense joy to our homes, becoming an integral part of our families. But this living, loving experience often requires a little extra care and attention. That's where Global Pet Foods comes in, with owners and staff ready to support you every step of the way. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Proud to sponsor the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today. 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
This is Kevin Heath.
Niagara Golf.
It's Owen Floyd. You're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast,
The official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to day 2 of our Niagara IceDogs OHL Draft live stream right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods and their 4 great Niagara region locations. We're pleased to be joined now. We shortened the commercial break because we had a special guest come into the room here. We're joined by the general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Wes Consorti. Wes, thanks a lot for joining us. I know it's a busy but exciting time for the group here. And you obviously know that it's another big draft here, bringing in a couple of impact players right away. Just how pleased are you with the guys you were able to add in night 1 here that are going to be hopefully as impactful as the 2023 draft class with 4 16-year-olds playing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great day to be an Ice Dog. Great day for the organization, the fans, the communities. Just super excited to get these guys in and get their feet wet and introduce them to the culture here. And, our players are super excited and just ready to go with these guys. These are high-end guys that are going to do great things in Niagara.
Wasslin falling to 4. What was it about him that you guys were so excited to take him at 4? And obviously, consensus around too is that it's a fantastic pick. So just talk a little bit about him and what he's going to bring to the team.
Well, his makeup, it's just the type of person he is, his values, his core values. The way he treats himself off the ice. This is a high-end hockey player who understands what it takes to be great. He's been great his whole career, and Brady's character is, I think, unmatched because he understands who he is and what he's capable of and what he needs to do to get there, and he's willing to do anything possible to achieve that. So. He's one of the top players in all of Canada for his age group, and just ecstatic that our organization will be able to help him get to where he needs to be.
And what did you guys kind of learn from last year about the organizational depth and obviously not having the bodies at the end of the season and kind of limping to the finish line? What are you kind of hoping that going into next season with Ben Boudreau getting his first full training camp and you guys continuing to bring in some high-impact players for that roster there that you think that IceDog fans should get excited for as they move into next season and learning from what happened this year?
Yeah, I mean, the picks that, the picks added now, and we still have our U18 draft, we have our import draft, we still have some other guys that are in the mix as well. So roster wise is healthy. We're filling some holes today and tomorrow. with the draft, and a couple more pieces to be added. But yeah, roster size healthy. Just we're in a healthy spot.
When you talk about the team moving forward and making sure that the guys are doing all the right things on and off the ice, you look at the guys they have right now, and your captain, Gavin Bryant, starts with the leadership from the top there. Him coming back as the captain, going to be exciting for his overage year, and also getting Kevin He taking another step in his development, hopefully going to get drafted here in June. Just how big is that going to be for your organization to have a guy drafted from your program that you've developed here in Niagara and bringing that, I guess, prestige back to the franchise throughout so many years that have had so many great players become NHL players, as IceDogs alumni?
Mm-hmm. Well, for Gavin, it starts at the top in the room, and he is the top. He's the standard for us and for our young guys. Our young guys gravitate to him, and the way he goes about his business professionally on and off the ice, and understands what it takes to be a hockey player, not just in the arena but outside of it. So, and Kevin, Kevin is just doing everything possible. He did everything he could this year to get where he is today, and we're just super excited for him for what's next. Just an outstanding person in the community. Just great to see what's next for Kevin, and just a good human being. Born to play hockey, and Kevin's doing everything possible to achieve his goals, and we feel he will do that. And the next step for him is in June, and it's going to be a great day.
What is obviously I think we're starting to see the turnaround. I mean, the season it was very fun to watch. Obviously the result wasn't ideal, but we definitely saw massive improvements throughout the roster, including just such an impact addition in Rubric as well as the rest of the draft class. But what would be in terms of roster construction going into this year? What do you think would be your biggest focus? Whether it be defense, offense, something like that. Is there one more than another that you kind of are putting a focus on this year?
Well, I mean, for the players individually, like we expect, and I think the players expect a jump in their overall game, their production. I feel if we can get the right amount of guys to accept that's what's expected and see that happen this year, we're going to be a much more improved team. Point of emphasis, obviously. I think with a lot of teams is in the back end. It's a tough league. We need tough minutes back there. They're hard minutes back there. So, defense is priority, I think, for a lot of teams. And, the tougher defensively you are, I think it helps our forwards up front, gives them a little more space. But it also helps the structure of the team, 5-on-5 and all that stuff. But I think if we get the right jumps from certain guys, I think we're in a good spot because, the potential in a lot of our guys is massive. So we're excited to see that.
Last one for me, as the day two draft, there seems to be a bit of a theme here. You mentioned that you definitely wanted the help in terms of the defensive side of things and the physicality. Almost all of the defensemen taken, or all of the defensemen taken so far, there's been 4 at the time of this conversation. They're all over 6 foot. Was that a point of emphasis?
Well,
in terms of size?
Yeah, I mean, size is a bonus for sure, but I think anyone who's seen, the league and studied the league, it's hard. It's hard back there. The bigger you are, yes, but you also have to be able to play hockey at the same time. So, the size for us is, not archaic thinking, but it's a bonus, and we got great coaches that can mold these guys to use their size properly, not just be a big man and say they're big, but play big and use their feet. So yeah, I think size is a bonus for sure.
Last one, Wes, before we let you go. Maximus Crete, what did you like it in him? He's a smaller guy, but it sounds like he plays a hard game, and it seems like you were getting a lot of praise from those who cover the league as far as in the draft perspective. So what did you like about Crete with the 30th pick to select him as an IceDog?
Just a gamer. I mean, he's everywhere. You watch him play, he's never off the screen. Any important play, his name comes up. So just again, born to play hockey, this guy. it's a complete player. Good person. His style is something that the organization needs, and again, just ecstatic to have someone like that come in here and show what he can do, and I'm excited for him, and the guys are too in the room for sure.
IceDog General Manager Wes Consorti. Wes, thanks a lot for taking the time to join us in the middle of the draft here. I'm sure it's an exciting but stressful time, but we look forward to what's going to come next season. And as you guys continue to build this roster for head coach Ben Boudreau, there's brighter things ahead, and really appreciate taking the time, and hopefully you get out on the course when the weather gets better.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
There was IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti on the OHL Draft live stream. And I liked when he talked about Creed and being a gamer. It's almost like what we saw with Ethan Zada last year. And he talked about when they drafted Ethan Zada that he would be – every team needs an Ethan Zada to win. So when you bring in another guy like Creed, you're kind of seeing that type of player that they're looking for.
Well, I mean, we mentioned that I talked about earlier that when it comes to Ryan, a little bit later on in the year, we saw it a little bit more, but he was more passive, like defensively, and you get those guys that have just incredible abilities to finish, and then you see you pair them with players that are able to go get the puck, aggressively. That's just a really good match there. And I mentioned again all of the descriptors, like it sounds like he is a lot like Sopa, who is just one of my favorite players to watch, and I'm excited. And it's funny, I remember at the beginning of last year, after about 10 games in one of our game recaps, I was like, I bet you any money that next year Zada is going to be like a IceDog fan, like, a huge fan base player, where, the player, maybe he isn't lighting it up offensively, he's not jumping off, but he is going to be a huge fan favorite. And, any more players like that are just obviously much needed.
The general manager sounds excited. He's a pretty stoic guy, but,
he is.
It seems from his body language, you can tell that he's excited about the process, and he's in the middle of on the phone here, but in and out of the interview.
They just went through 5 rounds, and it's been like an hour and a half, so I can understand why he's a little frantic.
He was just on the phone before he came in here, so we're awaiting, again, some of the prospects to trickle in here, but it does sound like you asked him about what the point of emphasis was with the roster, and he definitely said getting bigger and heavier on the back end was something that they're looking at. We see it in the draft here, but I would expect another move or two coming in that sense, either in the import draft, the U18 draft, or making trades.
It's funny because when we again, this is my first season covering the team, but going into training camp, watching and being a season ticket holder in the 2022-23 season, which was awfully tough, obviously. But you saw like those big strides, and then training camp, when we were doing like the projected roster, remember Gallianov couldn't even crack the lineup. O'Flaherty as well. Well, he was still here. Like there was players that we were surprised after training camp and the moves that were made, and maybe because there were so many trades made that we just it was maybe thinned out, things like that. But as you see now, training camp is going to be a battle. Obviously, you'd have to expect Wasselin and Crete, and maybe Fraska and McMahon. We'll see. Again, as you get further down the draft this year, obviously those are players that are probably going to we might see during call-ups, or maybe in a year or two, that maybe make the jump. But when it comes to those three being added to the team, or even just Wasselin and Crete, because Humphreys, again, that's a bit of a wild card when it comes to a goaltender. But those two forwards added into it already, kind of set player pool, because you have to understand that Potterley was out half the season, right? So if he comes back, there's a question there. But we've already seen the lineup without Potterley, right? So you've got kind of this, when you go to the projected lineup, like there's going to be a pretty big battle there. And I think training camp is just going to be fun, barring any injury or anything like that. But the moves that are made, I definitely think it'll be on the back end still. That would be my guess. Just like going off of what we've got projected forward depth, like Rubrick, Bryant, and Kevin. He is a forward, definitely our first line. But then you've got Gallianov and Zada and Paris, Mason Ray, Asadorian, and Levin, and then Vermeulen, Potterloo, and Stewart kind of rounding it out. We've also got some questions about Klein, how that's going to shake out. But you add in Wasselin and Crete to there. Two guys got to come out. and we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out. The defense, definitely. I think that we're going to see a move or two in the summer before training camp starts. I would be stunned if we don't have another move made in the same kind of ilk as the Gavin Bryant trade.
Got another selection for the IceDogs here in the 9th round. Reese Mateer, local product from Thorold, Ontario. So the IceDogs take their first Niagara native from the Niagara North Stars. Left winger, 6 foot, only 134 pounds.
Got to fill out.
Got to fill out a little bit.
Got to fill out a little bit.
But Thorold, Ontario native, Reese Mateer.
All right, awesome. Adding to another forward depth again. And again, we're starting to see some players kind of file in here.
I think that was Matthew Humphreys,
I believe that was, yeah.
Yep.
A lot taller. Yeah, all right, good pick.
So 6'2" Matt Humphreys is in the building, just got his IceDogs jersey. So the goaltender selected in the 3rd round from the Niagara IceDogs from the Markham Majors. His teammate Brady Wasslin is on his way as well. But, so the IceDogs have picked here in the 9th round. They'll actually pick again in about 2 picks, so they are on the clock once again. If I'm looking at this correctly, they are on the clock.
Yeah, even Paris and Levin would be great second and third line options on the squad. Like it is going to be a lot more difficult, and that's what's fun about this. Like as you get into your cycle of pushing for a championship or playoffs, even it gets a lot more difficult as it goes along.
So Niagara is on the clock. Gavin Bryant making an appearance. Joined us last night. So if you guys want to hear the interview with IceDogs captain Gavin Bryant, that is at the end of our night 1 coverage. That's live on the channel now. Going to clip all the interviews if you guys missed anything from the weekend and put it into its own draft recap episode. But Niagara is on the clock here at 183, and then they won't pick again for a while.
I believe that's when they have a lot of picks in succession.
Yep. So, again, we're going to stay with you here most likely till about noon, and then we'll figure it out from there if we record some interviews off camera and put those into the draft recap show. But so far, sounds like they're pretty happy with what they were able to do in night 1 and filling out the depth here. Again, no other draft is like the Ontario Hockey League where you have 15 rounds.
It's
pretty
surprising.
incredible.
It is surprising that it's that much. Because I feel like a lot of people on the outside, maybe that aren't a more casual fan, don't realize that the amount of prospects taken. Because again, your bench isn't or the guys that are scratched, things like that. There isn't an excessive amount, so to earn a contract, definitely tough.
Niagara's on the clock.
Seth Ronan is 6-foot goaltender, so another goaltender. So I think you might be bang on there with the goalie. The goalie question mark is definitely going to be interesting because I think we just penciled in Flores no matter what, and we'll have to. But how the season ended, we'll wait and see. That's the hard part about this, because it's not like the OHL and how the CHL teams go. When you're a fan or when you're covering it, you see players that come and go, and you don't want them to go, but there's just a short window.
We're waiting on the IceDogs 10th round selection. They are on the clock. Finn Moffitt was the last 10th round pick taken by Niagara. I think we're going to... There's a 15-minute break. Okay.
All right.
Good to know.
I feel like these guys need a break. They just flew through 6 rounds in 2 hours, so... After last night when we had 3 hours to go through 3 rounds, that's crazy. It's going to be like 30-second timer. It's like a fantasy draft. You've got a 30-second clock.
We are just waiting for the IceDog selection, then we might have somebody join us.
Excellent.
Bear with me here. If you guys, I'm just putting a graphic up on the screen here, so it's not the stream going black. And the IceDogs still have not made the selection here. Still waiting on it. 183 in the 10th round.
So Second goaltender taken.
There will be a break.
Might have been right now. It might be
Okay.
at the turn for the IceDogs pick. That might be it.
Well, that would make a lot more sense. So
Yeah, because it is the start of the 10th round.
Okay. Well, we'll wait for that, and we'll bring our special guest on now while we're waiting for this pick. I know he's got stuff to do as well. And he
No, he doesn't.
He's the busiest
headset
guy
on,
here
yep.
today. So
Yeah,
we're
you probably are. That's probably not. He might be the most busy today.
So for the first time making an appearance, we've got the media and communications manager for the Niagara IceDogs, Luke Vink, and also the creator of LV Designs. Luke, first year kind of in this role, how have you enjoyed it? And coming over from Peterborough, I know you had to trade away your maroon colors for the IceDogs red. How's your first year? I know you were an intern last year, but first full year here.
Yeah, it was good. Learned a lot in the role and just kind of, going through a lot of things with figuring out the role in the industry. But it was good and just kind of, glad to get going in the industry. It's kind of something I always want to do. So glad to trade in the maroon for the red for sure.
What was it like last night being in the room with obviously getting with Brady Waslin being drafted and 4th overall? What was it like, again, from your perspective, because you're handling all the communications and the graphics and things like that? What was it like?
Yeah, it's cool. Obviously, it's one of those things where in that position when you're drafting 4th overall, you kind of get to know a bit ahead of time, so you get to create something a little more special. So that was special for me to be able to create something kind of cool for the kid and just kind of make him feel a little more special. So that's honestly the best part for me about it, is just being able to be creative in my own self and kind of showcase my skills as well, but also to kind of just give something for the kid and make him feel special in that moment.
How's it been kind of, seeing the players come in here? I know it's kind of like a Christmas morning for the scouting staff and things like that, having everybody here. I know the season was a pretty big grind and things like that, but, how have you kind of enjoyed the whole process of knowing how everything works behind the scenes and being able to bring it to us with the content that you do put out on the IceDogs social media accounts?
Yeah, it's great, honestly. This is honestly one of my favorite days. I say it's kind of like, the Christmas day. This is what you kind of look forward to in my role, just because of all the content that's going in and out. Obviously got to thank Jared there with the Union Creative. He's our videographer. He does a great job capturing these moments for us and for the kids and their families. So that's honestly just the best part about it. Obviously, Matthew Humphries just came in he's the first player to come in, and to see that moment, Jared was able to capture it on video, and it's just an awesome moment. It's great to see, and it's fun to welcome the new guys into the region, into the team. So,
what was your favorite part? You covered all the game day stuff, and definitely one of the busiest guys in the arena. And honestly, appreciate all of the coverage that you did and all of the graphics and everything like that. But what was your favorite part of game days?
The game days, honestly, it's one of those things where it's so routine every day, right? But I honestly just think, whether it be a win or a loss, just going down to the room after and just, being able to interact with the guys and kind of get their thoughts and feels on the game, and whether it's I got to go in and Brandon Caputo needs Ryan Rubrick or whatever.
Drive him nuts.
It's just cool to be kind of a part of the whole process, and obviously respect, you got to respect their space in certain times, but being able to be that guy, whether they come to me for, hey, I needed an assist on that goal or whatever, just that after the game moments with them, especially after when we had some cool moments in the dressing room after, and being able to capture those was probably my favorite part.
What was your favorite? That's a good segue. What was your favorite moment from the IceDogs season?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's
a
a lot of good
Rubrick's
moments.
records.
Rubrick's
records. Those are fun for me personally.
Yeah.
But I also think my favorite game, in terms of my role, was probably the St. Patrick's Day game.
Oh yeah.
Just because it was kind of fun to switch. We did a green theme, and Zoe Perry's or ZP Flicks, wherever you will, did a great job capturing the moments from that game, and Jared, the videographer, did a great job capturing the moments, and I just feel like my team did a great job overall. So as terms of a game, I think it'd be that one, just 'cause I think we did such a good job of capturing that theme of the day. So
no argument there.
Yeah, and last question for me, Luke, is what can you give fans a little teaser about next season? Obviously, we want to see the team's success, and we got excited about the few little moments that we had this year, and hopefully going to have a lot more wins next year. But what's something that IceDog fans, from your perspective, can get excited for? That you're looking at a guy to take a step, and or what kind of content you might be in the works for next season as well.
Yeah, I think honestly it's just the youth movement, and looking at Rubric and Zada and Galeana, for all those guys, they're just going to take more steps. And then so far, it feels like we've done a great job in this draft with the 08s, and there's a lot of excitement around the guys coming in the building today. So I think it's honestly just that, and then we'll be getting the hype videos and the goals and all that going. So we're just kind of excited to get that going.
You picked
again.
the goal song yet? Like, have you picked the intro song yet? No.
Yeah, I guess that'll be. We might do another fan vote. We're not sure, but we had some fun with that last year. So yeah, we'll see where that goes this year. But yeah, just excited to bring the energy every night into the building. So
Luke Vink, the media and communications manager for the Niagara IceDogs. Luke, do you have any questions for us before we let you go?
No, just keep doing a great job. You guys are killing it every day. So.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Luke. Appreciate you joining us, and good luck as you go into your second year, your sophomore year. Hopefully, it turns out better than your Ohio State Buckeyes.
Oh, that's a little dig. Thank you, Kapoor. Have a good.
Thanks, Luke. There was the media and communications manager for the Niagara IceDogs, Luke Vink, and obviously does a great job with the graphics and the game day stuff, and that's the stuff that you see that you don't really appreciate behind the scenes of the hard work that these employees put in.
Just to get the game day sheets too, right?
And even to get ready for the games and to get people excited on social media, because we see how big social media is now with as far as the promotion and trying to get the younger demographic engaged with different sorts of content. And the IceDogs do a great job as far as bringing in some videographers. They have the stuff that we do as well. But they really try to, despite the product on the ice not being as great as they wanted it to, they still brought the entertainment off the ice with all the content that they created throughout the year.
I mean, he's got to be doing a good job. I mean, like I said, the tough couple of seasons, but the Niagara IceDogs fans have always shown up. And a big part of that is, just kind of the process and everything that goes into making a successful game day experience.
Absolutely. So the IceDogs, I think that was the break.
That was the break. It was right at because they have a break right at the 10th round, and it's to start with the 10th round.
Yep, it was the break. So I guess we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back, and we're going to get the next portion of the draft. Be with you here until 12 noon. On our live coverage here, and we'll try to get a couple more guests here before we do get out of here. So stay right here. We're right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of the great Niagara region locations.
In the Niagara region, Global Pet Foods is your destination for premium pet nutrition and caring expertise. Whether you've welcomed a new furry family member or need advice on top quality nutrition, their dedicated staff is ready to help. Discover why Global Pet Foods' lesser-known premium brands outshine the big corporate names. Their team's passion ensures your pet's health and vitality. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where premium brands and caring staff make the difference. J&L Flooring is Niagara's specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride and provide elite customer service and support. With a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety of truly unique products, J&L Flooring is your specialty flooring and decor boutique shop. All of their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced, so you can feel good about your flooring choices. Their goal is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity. Offering a unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team, they simplify the process to make your life easier and to make your home more beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road in Niagara Falls or find out more at jnlflooring.com. If you think you can get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack at J&L Flooring. Since 1999, Niagara Dental Clinic has been helping thousands of patients achieve natural-looking smiles with the confidence to show them off. Sean Patel and his wife Ann, both licensed denturists, bring a wealth of skill and experience to the warm and friendly atmosphere to their Niagara Falls location at 5501 Drummond Road. And their on-site Niagara Hearing Clinic offers free hearing tests and a variety of services to fit your needs. This family-run practice takes pride in providing superior care and service to their patients, along with the best premium products available on the market. Get the best work done at a more reasonable price. Niagara Dental Clinic is here to help. Protect your teeth with a mouth guard, replace missing teeth, and get better hold with your dental implants. Call them today for a free consultation at 905-353-1552 or check them out online at niagaradentalclinic.com. Niagara Dental Clinic, creating natural smiles in the Niagara region for 25 years. Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center located at 6100 Thoroldstone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance, and you can check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983. Pets bring immense joy to our homes, becoming an integral part of our families. But this living, loving experience often requires a little extra care and attention. That's where Global Pet Foods comes in, with owners and staff ready to support you every step of the way. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Proud to sponsor the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today, 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Niagara Golf Lounge features 2 state-of-the-art indoor golf simulators, allowing you to play some of the world's best courses all year round. The perfect place to indulge all season long. Don't worry about getting thirsty while you play around with your friends. Their fully stocked bar offers a wide selection of drinks, appetizers, and a variety of meals are also available to enjoy before, during, or after you play. Grab a seat next to the fire in their comfortable sports lounge. Didn't bring your clubs? No problem. They have partnered with TaylorMade to offer you the best rental clubs. You won't want to miss their exclusive NFL and NHL giveaways for the Buffalo Sabres and Buffalo Bills. Located in the Best Western Plus Karen Croft Hotel, 6400 Lundy's Lane in Niagara Falls. Visit NiagaraGolfVacations.com to learn more and to reserve your golf bay today. The Niagara Golf Lounge, Niagara's home for golf and sport all year round.
Are you looking to hire? Let the Niagara Employment Help Center save you valuable time and money by making your hiring process easier. Their services include free job postings in-house and on their website, fill job vacancies quickly and efficiently, access to a bank of potential employees, reduce employment costs, and financial incentives may be available to offset the cost of new hire training. Check out the website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberk.
This is Ivan Gallianoff. This is Gavin Bryant.
And this is the Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to our Day 2 OHL Draft live stream here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods. Their pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you for the next 35 minutes or so. I believe we have Steve Clark, the TV play-by-play commentator for the IceDogs, coming on at 11:40. And we'll see if we can get a player interview before we wrap up our live coverage. But if not, don't worry, we will be conducting those interviews and putting them into our post-draft recap with all of the interviews that we do conduct here on draft weekend. But Cam, the IceDogs, we're still in that break in between the 9th and 10th rounds. So the IceDogs are on the clock, but it's a break at the moment. So we're going to see their 10th round pick and a few more selections here. But as we get closer to wrapping up our draft coverage, how have you liked the whole experience so far of, going through the first 3 rounds yesterday and going through, I guess, 10 rounds of it so far on day 2?
It's crazy to see the pace of the second day, much like the real NHL, where there's obviously it's much quicker. You don't have to call it in or anything like that. Basically, it's all just done digitally now. But yeah, the pace at which the rounds 4 through 15 go is just is pretty wild, and exciting times obviously for a lot of the IceDog draft picks. We just saw Humphreys. He's taking a look at the IceDog facilities. Big kid, my goodness. He is definitely going to fill the nets. So exciting to see him, and talking to some other people around the team. Just exciting. Like the vibes are really good today.
We're getting another guest here going to join us, so I'm just going to connect him through. Just give us 1 second here. Niagara is still on the clock, so we'll have to interrupt our guest real quick to talk about the 10th round selection. But I think you fans out there are going to enjoy this one. And we're just waiting for him to give me the clearance. And we've also got Steve Clark coming up after this guest as well. So just give me 1 second here. I'm just going to connect him here on the PHPA hotline.
Your call has been...
Oh.
He's
Send me the voicemail already.
He's
not ready yet. So we're almost there. I'm just waiting for the signal that I can give him a quick call. See if the IceDogs have picked. All right, so here we go. We'll go ahead and talk about that real quick. Goaltender Evan Ackerman from the Mississauga Senators, 6'1" goaltender.
Okay, so now that is our fourth goaltender taken
in total.
Yeah,
I thought that was only 2.
No, it's Humphrey. You've got. Oh, sorry,
2.
that was recent.
Yeah.
I was looking at the overall list. They just went back to back to back to back. So our second goaltender taken. So I think you might be onto something. Looking at the future of the goaltender position here.
Looking at Vivid Eye Photography currently at the moment, coming in here. The team photographer for the IceDogs. Shout out to Natty.
She's a great job.
Amazing job with we use all of her pictures for all of our graphics and stuff, so we really appreciate her throughout the year as well. See all these people that go into making it work, So the IceDogs take Evan Ackerman here, Mississauga Senators, U16. Vaughan, Ontario is his homeland there.
As we move along, that was our 10th round selection, correct? So the next pick, we have quite a bit of weight here, but then we draft in the span of like 30 picks, we have 6. So, but yeah, we have a pretty big long wait. We drafted the end of the 11th round. We've got Ottawa's 11th pick.
Yeah, that might be our last live pick of the day with our 2 guests coming on. All right, we're joined now on the PHPA hotline by IceDogs forward, assistant captain, and draft eligible forward in the National Hockey League this year. That would be the one and only Kevin He. Kevin, thanks a lot for joining us today. This is a pretty exciting day for the IceDogs organization as a whole. But can you just speak to looking back on it now a couple of years ago when you were drafted and that whole experience? What sticks out to you when you reflect on your draft day?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of, nervousness and excitement built up for that date. But, once you get drafted, I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime moment. So I think it's a pretty special moment for me and my family, and we're all together celebrating it. So I think it was a fun time.
Kevin, thanks for joining us this morning. You've got a big summer upcoming. Talk to us a little bit about, what that's like and how it differs from your prior summers going into, your second season in the OHL. What's it like and kind of what's on the docket for the next few months for you?
Just training. I think I've been in the gym, every day and kind of been starting to skate now a few times a week. So I think nothing changes too much. Just more focus and more effort into everything I do now, and more poise, I'd say. So yeah, I've been in the gym quite a lot the past few weeks, but yeah.
How cool is it when you got that invite to the NHL Combine, and that's going to be happening there for you in June in Buffalo? Just how excited are you for that opportunity? And I'm sure you're working on your chin-ups and other things off the ice, probably that I can't do. But how much stock are you putting into that and getting ready for the off-ice testing as well?
Yeah, I put a lot of thought into it, and definitely kind of geared my training towards that. So pretty pumped, pretty excited, and I'm ready to go in there and show them what I got. So yeah, pretty pumped for sure.
Kevin, I know you missed the last couple of games of your draft year. How excited were you with the tape that you were able to put out there this year for the Scouts, and scoring 30 goals in the league and being close to the team leader in points despite missing a couple of games there? How pleased were you with your second year tape in the OHL and putting out a good impression, a lasting impression for the Scouts this year?
Yeah, I thought I picked it up, especially the second half, and I definitely put together a pretty good tape, like you said, and I'm pretty confident in my game right now. So going forward, I'd say that's where I'm at right now with my game, and yeah.
I got another good draft story that I want you to talk about, Kevin. I know last year when Artem Frolov got drafted, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you were actually skating with Artem Frolov while he was drafted by the Niagara IceDogs. Can you talk to us about that whole draft weekend experience for Artem Frolov last year?
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't know he was going to be there. I just came out to skate, and next thing you know, Frolov and they had another goalie, Medvedev. I can't pronounce his last name, but there's two players there that both got drafted. And I was kind of on the ice, and we stopped practice. We pulled out the computer, watched it live, and it's a pretty exciting moment for him to get drafted the IceDogs, and I was pretty pumped for him. So yeah.
Obviously, going into while that how that plays out, going into your third year now, obviously the first two from a team standpoint have been disappointing in terms of the team results. But this year, does it feel different already? Once the season ended, in terms of the outlook for the team and how the expected jump in terms of the standings for next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just even now, I was pretty very happy actually with the draft going on right now. I have Brady Watson. I've known him really well. Quite a the guys that we took so far, I've known for years now, and I actually go to school with a few of them. So, just even with that outlook, I think it's everyone's on the same page and on board coming into next year, and I think everyone's pretty pumped to get the season going. So.
Brady Wasson actually just walked in the door at the Meridian Centre. Talk to us a little bit about if you've known him for a little while. What can IceDog fans expect from his game?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great kid. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. He's a leader on and off the ice, and I used to go to school with him, so I know him quite well. I played with his brother. That's another thing. So all around, I've been around the kid, and this kid's great. He's a great kid, and I think he's going to do a lot of good and positive things for us, and he's going to be great here.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, when you look at this team taking a step forward this year, who's a couple of guys? I know the 16-year-old crop was very good, but what are you looking at from the team to take a step forward, not just with yourself and Captain Gavin Bryant coming back, but with these young guys taking another step from their 16 to their 17-year-old year? I know you had a big jump from your 16 to your 17-year-old year. So with so much young players, how much impact do you think that they're going to have, and who's a guy that you're really looking for that IceDog fans should be excited for going into 24-25?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're talking about guys, obviously Ruber had an outstanding season. Zada, Galley, and Frolov, I think, especially with Galley and Frolov. And Frolov kind of really picked it up in the second half, and I really liked his game towards the end, so I think he's definitely a player to watch coming this year. Galley, he's always been there, and, I think just taking his game to the next level is definitely something that I'm going to be, watching closely, and he's going to be a player to watch as well. So I think just a lot of our 16-year-olds, taking that step forward. Obviously Zada, he has the build, he's going to put it together, and once that happens, I think, he's going to be a force in this league. So just so much talent, so much potential for my 16-year-olds last year, and especially, I've made that big jump, and once they do, I think, we're going to be the sick team, and definitely a fun team to watch.
What was the biggest thing for you to make that jump? Is it confidence? Is it just, time in the gym? What was it that made you feel and gave you the ability to kind of make that big jump that you see from a lot of the, the higher end players in the OHL from 16 to 17?
Yeah, I think it's, a lot of it has to do with preparation. I've prepared, on and off the ice for coming into training camp. I worked my ass off in the summer, and I put in a good plan for the 3 months 4 or 5 months I was in the off season, just training and kind of preparing myself to, be under the spotlight, obviously coming into this year as my draft year, and just kind of make that jump to the next level. So.
Well, Kevin, before we let you go, do you have any questions for Cam or myself?
You guys at the Meridian Centre right now?
Yep.
Nice.
I know you were here last year. You were last year with your brother Eric. That must have been fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Is Gavin there as well? I saw the video. I don't know if
Yeah, Captain Gavin Bryant's here looking like he's ready to hit the golf course, even though it's raining out.
He's itching.
He's got off season going for us. So.
He's itching to get out there. But Kevin He, the IceDogs assistant captain and star forward, NHL draft eligible. Kevin, we wish you the best of luck here as you go through the process the next couple of months. And I know you're excited you're chopping at the bit to get back here next season and turn this team into a playoff team. So thanks a lot for doing this, and look forward to big things in your third year. And all the best with the off-ice training.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, guys.
Appreciate it.
There was IceDogs forward Kevin He on the PHPA hotline. He talked about knowing Brady Wasslin a little bit. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, he said he went to school with a lot of these guys.
Yeah, so really cool.
It's something you don't think about because they're, a lot of them are in school still, so it's the camaraderie makes it a lot easier because, again, when you have 4 16-year-olds, it probably made it easier on the fact that we had, Rubric, Zada, Frolov, as well as Galyanov. They all come into their first years in the OHL, and they at least have other players in the same kind of situations. It probably made it a little bit easier as opposed to you've got one rookie making the lineup, kind of, in a team that's, at their end cycle. It's a little bit harder to make the team.
Absolutely. So we got Brady Wasslin in the building, so there's a little bit of buzz right now. You can hear it.
You can hear it. Yeah.
Probably going to go through the rounds here and hopefully get to us before we wrap up. We'd really like to get him on the show here before we do wrap up. We've got Steve Clark in the hopper as well to come on. So we might be with you for about 2 more interviews. The IceDogs don't pick for a while here. But that'll probably be it for our live coverage today as we await Brady Wasslin coming in, and we'll see there. But Kevin He, and you asked him about kind of that off-ice preparation and what changed for him, and it just sounds like he's very focused and dialed in on what he needs to work on this year, as opposed to maybe going into his first year or making that jump from first to second, now second to third. I think this is when you really start to see that these guys become pro-ready after their jump from their second to their third year. I heard McDavid talk about that when he was a younger player, that his jump from his second to his third year was leaps and bounds bigger than his jump from his first to his second.
Well, the other thing about hockey is it's a late developing sport. Just because, you think of how hard and physical and fast the game is, that some guys physically don't develop, and then when you combined it with a strict training program and as well, you definitely can see these huge jumps, and it comes whether it be offensively or physically. And there's a lot of players that I'm excited to see. Kevin, obviously, I would love to know the difference. Maybe Kevin's kind of known, or it's been kind of known, where he's kind of a special talent that has aspirations and the opportunity to maybe go pro, compared to players that maybe won't make the jump. It's such a hard thing to do to become an NHL drafted prospect. It's while the OHL features the most, it's still very difficult to get drafted. So. Being able to put in all that time and effort, you definitely see it. I think that's a common thread between all of the players that get the spotlight, is that very few of them are just able to kind of go through the motions and then show up and play hockey. But Kevin's obviously been extremely diligent in his training, and you see him too. When I met him for the first time last year at the beginning of the training camp, not the biggest looking on the ice, but he's in great shape. And it kind of bore to fruition as the season went along, because you saw him way more physical this year. I mean, I think he had over 50 penalty minutes, or real close to it, which is something that wasn't really a thing in his first year. So
definitely, and we're just waiting for our next guest to connect here. But when you look at it, and Brady Waslin's in the building right now, we're going to talk to him hopefully before we wrap up as well. But the IceDogs, when you look at their depth here, and hoping that Kevin He gets drafted, gets that bump there, and everybody else is just going to hopefully get elevated with Kevin breaking through that glass ceiling. You talk about it's not Robrick's draft year next year, but you have guys like Galiano, Frolov, and Zada that want to make a big impression for the draft class for next season. And then you get Waslin here, who's going to be in the same draft eligible year as Ryan Robrick.
That's what I was going to say. That's an interesting thing, like an interesting dynamic. Obviously, we don't know how things are going to shake out, but when you have that draft pedigree, there is at least a higher expectation or a higher chance that you see, potential to get drafted into the NHL, and you're going to have, we talked about it, if Ryan has a jump this year, in line with what's been projected for after just an incredible 16-year-old season, and this upcoming draft year not being his draft year, if he were to be a point-per-game player, there's a potential chance that he's a top 10 pick in the NHL in 2026. And if that's the case, you're getting national media attention in terms of, who's coming to watch games from scouts all over the league. And not to mention a Canadian kid, it depends on how high he goes. If he has another 30, 40 goal season, just obviously don't want to put those expectations on him, but it's well within the realm of possibility. And now you've got Brady Waslin, who in his draft year, we might have a potential opportunity, something what Windsor's about to go through with Greentree and Cristofaro.
That would be quite interesting, wouldn't it?
I mean, it just would be such a breath of fresh air and a huge change in the vibe around the team, because it's been off ice for a few years, hasn't been where it's needed to be. In the last year, it definitely has. We've seen a massive improvement, not just on the ice. And again, last place, yes, but there's a major. If you were to ask any IceDog fan that paid attention all year, 2023 or 2022. 3, and then this season, massive difference. And that didn't just take place on the ice, but also in the room and management stability in the organization.
Matthew Humphreys has come through. Brady Waslin is here. It's just cool to see the young kids come through and be able to see the facility, see the dressing room, put on the jersey for the first time. I've never been through an experience like that myself. I'm not an athlete, but I'm sure that must be cool moment for them to be able to come down here and see the facility, see the Meridian Centre a little bit, even though there's no fans in the building. But just taking them through the tour and making them feel welcomed and feel like a new home. Because that's the other thing is some of these players have never left home before. They're 16 years old. This is a big culture shock for them, having to move away to billets and things like that. So you want them to come into an environment where they feel comfortable.
Absolutely, and I think that's a thing that we have. We have a great billet system, as well as the Meridian Centre being one of the best buildings in the league. I think that there's if you were to ask, we've asked a few players that where their favorite places to play and where your least favorite places to play, and Niagara is just a great rink. So. It's in the heart of the city. It's got a great location, and the fan base has shown up, even though the standings and the place in the standings hasn't been there.
We're going to connect our next guest here.
Hello.
We are now joined on the PHPA hotline by the IceDogs TV play-by-play voice for Your TV Niagara. I put your RTV on the screen there. Apologies. But we're joined by Steve Clark anyway, the three faces of Foley. I know you were excited about that yesterday with those draft-eligible players with last name Foley. But, Steve, thanks a lot for joining us. I know you're driving around right now to multiple different things, but appreciate you joining us. How excited are you from what you've seen so far from the Niagara IceDogs draft, bringing in Brady Waslin and Maximus Crete, two players that they got a lot of praise for as far as being impact players right away in their rookie years?
Yeah, I was pretty excited, Brandon. When I did Sportsline podcast with Bubba O'Neill, and I identified there were three players that I felt were the top three players in terms of talent. And Ethan Belchez, of course, went to Windsor. Adam Valentini slipped to number 13 where Mississauga took them, and Brady Waslin was the third one. And I thought with the IceDogs picking fourth that they were going to miss out. And it was going to be no sure thing because the next best player was Zach Nyman, and of course he's committed to the BCHL. So when Watson fell to the IceDogs, and I heard that buzz during the week, I was pretty excited because everybody has been raving about this player. He's got good size, he's got obviously great scoring ability, high end talent. And then when they were able to get Maximus Creed, I mean, I was looking again and seeing him as a lot of people felt that he could be first round talent, and a lot of people were very excited. So the fact that he was available for the IceDogs at the position that they got him, very, very excited. And they get a goalie, and then they get a big defenseman with some OHL bloodlines. It's been a really good draft for the IceDogs so far.
Steve, Cam here, and first of all, I want to say, big fan. You do a fantastic job. I just want to get your thoughts on the vibes in terms of the difference year over year. Obviously, a few tough seasons for the IceDogs, but this season and just being around here this last year and how the year ended, but there's some hope finally. And does this off season, just the draft so far, feel different in comparison to maybe the prior two?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, listen, the way you look at it is the more distance you can put from scandal and things that don't cast a very positive light on your franchise, the better. And you can do that with time, and you can do that with your actions. And again, last year was another rocky season for the IceDogs, but it wasn't as rocky as the season before. There were lots of positives. There were lots of development of young players. And I really feel that they're starting to turn a corner. And I really felt for this draft, the IceDogs couldn't afford to take a flyer on the players who had committed elsewhere. They couldn't go for an Adam Valentini. They couldn't go for Nyman and or Haig or some of the other ones. They had to be in a must-sign position, and they did that. And they got a player who really, really wanted to come to Niagara, and I think that's important when you're looking at the PR aspect of your franchise, because let's face it, you haven't been in the playoffs since 2019. You've transitioned from one ownership to another ownership, and that has not been smooth, and that might be the understatement of the year. So you do need those positive vibes, and you do need to turn the IceDogs into that destination OHL franchise that it has been for a lot of its tenure here in Niagara, and I do firmly believe the IceDogs are doing that.
Yeah, he talked about the cheeseburger chant in his post-draft interview, which was pretty incredible, that he did come here and watch a Niagara game at the Meridian Centre. From your perspective, Steve, calling the games, and we talk about the Ryan Robricks, and we heard a bunch of your calls for breaking his rookie records this year, 16-year-old records, regular rookie records. It was a banner year for Ryan Robrick and some of the other younger crop of talented players. But from your perspective, calling the games all season long, what did you see that fans can look forward to next year to hopefully take a big step as far as what you saw this year from some of the development of some of those younger players as they go into their 17-year-old years?
Well, first of all, before we get to the 17-year-olds, I'm very excited to see a drafted Kevin Heath and what he can bring to the table next year. I don't believe that last year was the ceiling for him. There's another level that he can aspire to. As for the 4 16-year-olds, I mean, obviously, Ryan Robrick is on a trek to maybe even get like upwards of 40 goals this year, assuming he continues to grow and develop the way that his trajectory is saying that he is. I mean, he stepped into the league last year, took a few games before he got his first goal, and then it looked like he belonged in the league for 2 or 3 years the way that he was playing. The same thing as well with Ethan Dodd. It took him a little while to get going, but somebody messaged me and said that once he scored his first goal, it seemed to turn a corner for him. And I really liked the two-way game that he could bring in, the physical play that started to elevate towards the end of the season. Ivan Galyanov was a player who really wasn't even in the lineup. And then once injuries and suspension hit, he got into the lineup, and he did what you want every single player to do, and that's dare people to take him out of the lineup, because you could not take him out of the lineup after he got into the lineup. And I was probably more impressed with Frolov just because acclimatizing yourself to the OHL from the defense position and playing the minutes that he did at the size that he did. And, there were some rocky games there for sure. There was no doubt about that. But at the same time, though, it didn't seem to faze him. So I think the meaningful minutes that he played this year, I think will have a tremendous impact as he enters his second year.
Steve Clark's with us, your TV play-by-play voice of the Niagara IceDogs. Steve, as we kind of reflect on past drafts and we talk about day 2 and trying to find those diamonds in the rough and those impact players that you're able to develop and find in those later rounds that can really be impact full OHL players for your team as they continue to build up into competitive playoff teams. Who are some of the guys that come to your mind that stick out the most throughout the many years that you've called the Niagara IceDog games as guys that weren't the most highly touted players, but ended up becoming important role players for the IceDogs that they maybe have found in day two?
Oh boy, that's a great question, because you can find it's either somebody you take a flyer on and you get them to commit, and so that becomes a positive, or it's a player that kind of flew under the radar. I always think of a guy, and I'm going back in history here, but a guy like a Shane Rover, and who really was double figures in terms of the round that he was drafted in. But then he just became that stay-at-home meat and potatoes defenseman and was a big part of championship teams. Big Mike Schwintz as well. I believe he was a 14th round pick, 280th overall, and he was a stalwart for Niagara for a couple of years. So if you're finding those defensemen who are big stay-at-home type defensemen on the second day, and then you could just kind of nurture them a little bit, you always don't need all the flashy skill at the defense position. You just need some guys who are able to play their position and do the job. And the IceDogs have been able to find a few of those through the years.
When it comes to, you mentioned in Rubric and continuing along his trajectory, having watched all of the prior IceDog players that have gone high in the draft, Tomasino, even going all the way back to Ryan Strome and Dougie Hamilton in terms of really high end first round picks, do you see like similarities in terms of their success and what it takes to be a first round pick in the NHL in Rubric, and maybe do you think that there are some similarities in those projections being correct?
The one difference that Robrick had that the players that you mentioned, the Dougie Hamiltons and the Stromes, et cetera, is that Robrick had a better first season than either of those players. Those players were kind of brought in slowly and then really exploded in their second season. So Tomasino is another example of that, who had modest statistics in his first year. He was a role player on a very, very good team, and then that second year he exploded and became the first-round draft pick of the Nashville Predators. So Robrick is already ahead of those players because he played in situations that those players didn't necessarily get to play in during the year. So I really honestly feel that, the sky is the limit for Ryan Robrick, assuming that he escapes the injury bug or something of a sophomore slump. There's no indication that there's any sort of step back that he is going to take. Just the way that he plays and the confidence that he has and the quiet confidence he has. This was a player in his first year who was rated the second best shot in the Eastern Conference by the coaches. A staggering thing to have in the first year that you were in the league too. So I actually think he's ahead of some of those great players that you mentioned, and not to put too much pressure on him, but yeah, he's headed to great big places and great things.
Well, Steve, lastly for you, it seems like they're going with size in this draft. We've seen not one player, not one defenseman is under 6 foot that they've taken, and they've only taken 2 players under 6 foot in total. So it seems like they're going for bigger, harder. We heard Wes Consorti earlier talking about getting bigger on the back end and being harder to play against back there. Obviously, they lose Connor Federico, who was their heart and soul on the defensive side when they traded away Soblev and Wright and guys of that nature. Is that an emphasis that you look in the offseason as to, going into the import draft or making an overage trade that they address bringing in some veterans on that back end to fill out with all those talented young guys?
Yeah, it's the one concern the IceDogs have. It is defensive depth and defensive experience. And so, last year they finished the year and not one of their defensemen was above 6'1", and that was after, they traded Sobolev. So you do need some big defensemen back there who could grow and develop and play with a little bit of physicality. I expect the IceDogs, again, knowing nothing about the import draft players, but I do expect them to target a defenseman. They will have another pretty high pick in the import draft. And then, I do expect them to get an overage or even a 19-year-old defenseman back there that's got a little bit of meanness, a little bit of grit, and to round out some of the good, kind of puck-moving defensemen they have in terms of, like a Chinowski and a Podrakar and things like that. So definitely that defense is going to be an emphasis, but I do expect imports and hopefully, reasonable trades, smart trades, not trades for the sake of making trades, because I do think the IceDogs have a chance to make a real leap this year in the standings.
Steve Clark, the TV play-by-play voice for the IceDogs on Your TV Niagara. Steve, I know you've made the rounds this morning. You're on the Your TV show this morning as well, and now you're out to your next endeavor. So we really appreciate appreciate you taking the time to join us in the car, and appreciate you joining us for our pregame reports all season long as well here at home. And we look forward to continuing to see you at the rink going forward next year, and hopefully some more goal calls to go in our game recaps that we're able to bring you through your TV. So keep up the good work, and we look forward to some great, more meaningful calls for you going forward next season.
Brandon, Cam, thanks very much. Already getting excited about next year and hopefully the a return to the playoffs for the IceDogs. Great job by you guys all weekend long, too. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Steve. Take care. There was Steve Clark on the PHPA hotline, the Your TV play-by-play voice of the IceDogs. He's called every single game since the franchise came to Niagara, calling games back at the Jack with Ed Burkholder and Al Galloway. That crew's been together for a very long time, and he's seen all those players that you've mentioned there, gone through the ranks and started with the OHL, became NHL players. It's quite the list.
It's crazy to think about that. He kind of nailed it on the head that he's exceeded. Ryan Rubrick's already exceeded, all of the players that have gone. I mean, we've had a 5th overall pick in the draft, and you know what I mean. So, it's just kind of crazy to see. But something that he mentioned, that while it sets kind of like an expectation that like your first round pick, okay, is going to be Ryan Rubrick. That's a franchise that's been around at least in Niagara, for so long now that it's just exciting now, but puts an expectation on all the other players. But I think that we're entering into our. He mentioned that you put a distance behind those, the kind of darker days of the team and the franchise, and two things fix that: time and winning. I think is really the two things that do that, and we're starting to enter into that kind of thing. And what I'm more excited for than anything else about this team, and especially after meeting all the players and head coach Ben Boudreau and just the people in the organization, is that I want the respect of the rest of the league, and obviously it hasn't really been there in terms of just the last few years, but we're starting to get it, and we're definitely going to get it after today, another successful day at the draft. I'm excited for the next phase of the Niagara IceDogs franchise.
A couple more picks filing in here for the IceDogs in the 11th and 12th round. Luke Wachuiak, 5'10" defenseman from the London Junior Knights, as well as another defenseman, Tegan Hartnell, from the Oshawa Minor Generals, 6'1". So the IceDogs continue to take more defensemen. So again, we're in the 11th round here, and just rounding out that organizational depth again.
It's a real like Bill Belichick kind of way of drafting, where just like the entire draft class is defense on the back end, and finding someone to fit. Like someone's gonna fit, And I think that adding the competition on that specific position is a great option, because we have a lot of established forwards, and obviously adding Brady Wasslin is going to be huge, and Maximus Creek. But I think that adding, when you have the second day of draft, and you have potential the training camp invitees and all of that, like you have so many defensemen that you're going to find a few.
Definitely are. We're trying to see if we can get Brady Wasslin before we wrap up today's live coverage. So if you stay with us here, we're going to see if we can grab the IceDogs first round pick to quickly react with us as we wrap up our live stream here. But we want to give a big thank you to our partners here, and I'm going to put them up on the screen. Thank you to all them throughout the season for their support. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing today and all throughout the season with our game recaps and covering the team as in-depthly as we can. So big thank you to the PHPA, Wild Bill's Auto Repair, Niagara Employment Help Center, Global Pet Foods Niagara, and all 4 of their great locations here in the Niagara region. The Niagara Golf Lounge, located in the Best Western Cairncroft Hotel, J&L Flooring, the Niagara Denture Clinic, and BetStamp. So thank you to all of our great partners this year, and to you listeners out there for tuning in. Again, some of the games weren't the best to listen to, but Cam and I did our best to bring you as objective coverage as we could throughout the season, and we really look forward to what's to come in the coming season here. So as we wait to see if we can get our last, guest on here, Cam, just final thoughts, because this is probably going to be the end of our season here, maybe an episode or two. Your first year covering the team and everything like that. Final thoughts on the whole year of experience here.
Again, coming in as a pure fan, my first year of covering the team, the vibe change is just so apparent. You see it from all the way through, and even after the start and the coaching change, and everything feels like we're finally have some structure, and and some hope going forward. And again, just today, the vibes were so strong throughout, the excitement from not just, we talked to Luke, who's in terms of marketing and doing all of the graphics and something like that. Even he had a big smile on his face, and it just feels very different. And I can't wait for the rest of the league to start to have to pay attention. Much like I was alluding to there, I'm excited for that, and not just this upcoming season, but the next few. But it's been a great year, and appreciate everyone out there listening.
Give us 1 second. We're just going to take a quick break here, and we're going to see if we can connect Brady Waslin. Okay, before we wrap up today, Luke is going to help us out. Try to lasso him in here as he's making the rounds. Taking the pictures, getting his jersey taken, and everything like that. So. It's going to be our last interview of the day. So thank you to everybody that's tuned in for the over 6.5 hours of coverage.
Yeah, well, it's been a long time. Let's take a quick break, and we'll see if we can get things set up with Brady, and then come back in and see if we can get him on, though.
Sounds good. So we'll take a quick commercial break, and we might cut the commercial break short here. So we'll be right back here for our final interview on the Dog Pound Podcast and our OHL Draft live stream.
Pets bring immense joy to our homes, becoming an integral part of our families. But this living, loving experience often requires a little extra care and attention. That's where Global Pet Foods comes in, with owners and staff ready to support you every step of the way. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Proud to sponsor the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today. 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Galyanov. This is Gavin Bryant.
And this is the Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
We're back on the Dog Pound Podcast and our OHL Draft live stream for our final interview of the day for our live coverage before we wrap up. And we're very pleased to be joined now by the 4th overall selection in last night's first round of the 2024 OHL Priority Selection Draft. That's Brady Waslin from the Markham Majors. And Brady, I know you remember me. I interviewed you at the OHL Combine, so, deja vu here. But thanks a lot for taking the time. How have you enjoyed the whole process? I know it's kind of a whirlwind for you, the last 24 hours or so. How was the last night at the OHL headquarters, and now getting here to Niagara to get a taste of what the Meridian Centre has to offer?
I mean, yeah, it's been a whirlwind of emotions, and going to that OHL office last night, it was a true honor, dream come true. They put on such a great event there, and I was welcomed warm. And then on the way to the Meridian Centre this morning, it was just processing. I'm like, wow, I'm a first rounder to one of the greatest junior hockey leagues in the world, and walking through those doors, saw some signs, saw some great guys on the wall in the Hall of Fame and stuff. So it's just been such a warm welcome, and I can't wait to get started here.
We've talked to quite a few people in the organization, including Wes Consorti, and they had nothing but just fantastic things to say about your character and obviously the excitement around you coming into this upcoming season. What's your biggest focus now? Obviously, you haven't had a lot of time to think, obviously, after last night. But what's going to be your biggest focus this off season in terms of preparing for the upcoming season?
Yeah, getting bigger, faster, stronger. This is a 68-game season, so I'm looking forward to playing lots of games, and it's going to be a hard, tough schedule. So I gotta get stronger for sure. There's lots of big guys in this league, so it's going to be tough every night going out. But I'm just going to come with my work boots on, try to score a couple goals, and help this team win some hockey games.
How much did it help from the recruitment standpoint if you wanted to come to Niagara when you have guys like Kevin He, Ryan Robrick, and you saw what the rookie class did last year? They had 4 16-year-olds in the lineup, and they all made really big impacts. So how excited were you to kind of come and add to that young, exciting core and that mix that Niagara's building here to hopefully, in a couple years be a contending team, and you're all going to be around the same age group there. So how exciting was that for you from a standpoint of wanting to come to Niagara with those players here?
I mean, yeah, it's super exciting. I've grown up with Kevin He and his younger brother Eric. I've gone to King Heights Academy with them for a couple of years, and thinking about the future, guys like Ryan Rubrick here, Kevin He, Artem Frolov, lots of really good guys, Ivan Galyanov, guys that I've known from the past and played against. It's truly exciting and an honor to be drafted by an organization where they're focused on their younger guys and they're looking to rebuild and try and make a run for the cup.
Seeing last season's roster, and obviously we had 4 16-year-olds in the lineup, the guys that you just mentioned, does that give you a little bit of excitement because you're going to get your opportunities as well as the other players that were drafted this year? Is that an added bonus?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, wherever I play, I just want to play hockey. I'm playing for the fans. I want to make them happy, make them want to come out and watch the games. So really, that's all I do it for, to make others happy.
For the fans that are going to watch you next season, what would you say is your best strength?
Scoring goals for sure.
Let's go. Love that. Don't hate that.
I love putting pucks in the back.
You might have to compete with Kevin He and Ryan Robrick for that.
It's going to be a tough one to win.
Who's gonna have the puck on their stick the entire season? I mean, a couple of shooters.
Do you like playmaking as well? Like, do you distribute to some of your guys?
I love passing the puck as long as they're scoring goals and winning. That's all that matters.
I want to bring up a quote because I talked to you at the Combine, so I already have a little bit of an inside info on you. Ever since I was a little kid, I looked up to Patrick Kane. I got to skate with him a couple of times, which was amazing. I wouldn't trade that for the world. He's such a class act and amazing hockey player. Can you tell the IceDog fans a little bit more about how you were able to have that opportunity to skate with Patrick Kane? And it's a guy you obviously looked up to, had a great OHL career with the London Knights, and obviously having a Hall of Fame career in the National Hockey League. Just that whole experience for you and how it came together.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best players to ever play in the Ontario Hockey League, and I've been watching him since he played there, so watched him get drafted to Chicago. Chicago's been my favorite team ever since. I guess now it'd be Detroit, but yeah, I just kind of got invited out. It was a little bit of a 3-on-3 while he was in rehab, and he was recovering with his hip. I got to see him make some really cool plays that I've added to my game, and yeah, it was just so amazing to be on the ice with such a player like him.
Yeah, and I think when you look at that, like, when you skate with a guy like Patrick Kane, and does that mean that you say you're a Chicago Blackhawks fan, now you still got the same colors on with the IceDogs, so they kind of have the same jersey concept. Does that mean that you were a London Knights fan growing up, or because you were in Markham, you went to some Oshawa Generals games?
No, actually, I grew up in Guelph, so I was a Guelph Storm
fan
as a kid, but now I'm the biggest Niagara IceDogs.
Hey, the Guelph Storms have had some good teams over the years, but we can't blame you there. Brady, as we wrap up with you here, and we appreciate you taking the time. What's the off season going to look like for you, and what's just your mindset as you continue on here and hopefully getting into training camp in August? Obviously, rookie camp's going to come up and things like that, but between now and training camp, what's going to be your biggest point of emphasis?
Yeah, just working on getting stronger, really, bringing positive attitude to the dressing room. I know there's some great guys in this room, and it's just going to be an amazing year, and I'm so excited to start my journey with the IceDogs.
You probably don't have any questions for us, but I'll ask you anyway if you did.
I don't, but I'm grateful to have you guys here, and I'm grateful to be on the podcast.
Appreciate that. You can ask us a question at sometime next season, whenever you want to come on. But
after your first goal.
After your first goal. Brady Wasslin, 4th overall pick of the Niagara IceDogs in the 2024 OHL Priority Selection Draft. Brady, congratulations to you and your family. Look forward to talking to you more again, and I'm glad I was able to give you somewhat of the OHL Combine bump there and seeing you. And now that you're here in Niagara, we're so lucky to have you, and we look forward to covering your rookie season and beyond.
Thank you guys very much.
Brady Wasslin, former Markham Major, now the Niagara IceDogs' newest selectee here in the OHL draft. Great stuff there. Brady, thanks so much. All right, we'll see you around. Good luck. There it was.
Nicest kid. I mean, yeah, understand what the other comments from Wes and everyone else in terms of his character, and Kevin talked about it too. That might be the nicest kid I've ever met in my entire life. He said all the right things.
He did.
What's your favorite part? Scoring goals. Like excellent.
And the cheeseburger thing last night, that was incredible. So as we wrap up, Cam, we heard from Brady Wasslin, and we heard from a lot of people today. We thank all of our guests that have come on last night and today throughout our over 6 hours worth of draft coverage. So as we got to talk to Brady Wasslin, what are you excited for as we kind of look towards the rest of the offseason here and looking ahead to what's to come next fall?
Again, it's just the vibes. Like everything is just everyone all smiles. You know, everything has gone to plan, and really, I just want the season to start next week. You know, but next year is definitely going to come. We are going to enter next season with the most excitement or buzz that we've had since that 2019 season. Even, you know, Kevin's going to be a drafted player. All you know, hopefully. You know, in the NHL, you've got Brady Wasslin going to make his debut. We haven't even met Maximus Creed as well as Humphreys as well. He's here. We're going to get longer looks at them and all of the other players that were drafted. But it's just another year of growth, and not just from a team standpoint, but the organization as a whole. Again, I came as a fan, right? So this is from a fan perspective. It's just it's a good time to be an IceDog fan.
Well, Cam, I want to thank you for coming on and giving your time. I know you got to go home and do your own content, but we appreciate you coming on with us this year and look forward to having you as this team continues to build. You talked about this is the process. This is now the third draft here in a row that the IceDogs have picked high, and they want to get out of that kind of cycle for the next couple of years. So really excited to have you on the ride with us as we move forward here and continue to grow on the network with the team, with our coverage and the Dog Pound. It's been fun having you, man.
Excited for next season. I can't wait to get started.
And thank you to all the fans out there that have listened to us all season long on our game recaps, on our post-month shows with the general managers and the GM and everything in between, all of our specials, all of our short content that we post here on the network. We thank you to everybody that has given their time and invested into this team as they continue to build back up the standings into the team that the Niagara region is so appreciative to have here. And we look forward to playoff hockey because there's nothing better than playoff hockey here at the Meridian Centre when the IceDogs do get there in the spring. But that's going to wrap up our OHL Draft live stream right here on the Dog Pound Podcast. Thank you to those today who have tuned in for the over 6 hours worth of coverage between the 2 days here on YouTube Live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. Please give us some love if you enjoyed the video version of the podcast here throughout the day. And as well, the Dog Pound Podcast is proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations as well. Big thank you to all of our other partners who help us make this possible throughout the season, and we look forward to having them all back for the fall and when the IceDogs do start up again. So for Cam Halbert, my name is Brandon Caputo, and we're signing off here from the Meridian Centre for our live OHL Draft coverage here on the Dog Pound Podcast. So until next time, this is another edition on the Armchair GM Sports Network, and we'll talk to you again very soon.